And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Who's Views. Yes, it's us. We are here again. It's Sunday the 13th of October 2024. How are you? Hope you are well. It's your big show here on Who's Views. Yes, it's your Sunday headlines. Lots to talk about this evening, I can assure you. I want to say hello to everybody that's in the chat with us. Nice to see you all. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there you all are. It's brilliant. I want to start straight away as well with this from Lex Kane. Thank you, Lex Kane, for your super chat. Who can't join us tonight? Lex, what's going on there then? Come on. He says he's helping out his church with doing PowerPoint for the media team at church. Ooh, fine. Well, hello to you, because I know you'll be watching on playback. But thank you for your super chat there. That's very good of you, Lex. And I hope everything's going all right. Choose the tenses that you want there. With everything on the PowerPoint. I hate PowerPoint. Goodness me. I mean, anything better these days. So hello. Yes. Nice to see you all. Yeah, oh, goodness me. Have you heard? We have got a lot to talk about tonight. There's a competition. Stand by your beds for that one. For you with Doctor Who from BBC Studios, Bad Wolf and Disney Plus. Oh, yes. We're going to be talking Tennant's rivals here on the show. We're also going to be talking about that story that broke last week about Carole Ann Ford. Bless her. And Paul McGANN has been in the news over the last few days this week as well. And yes, of course, we're going to be talking about Gatwa being gagged. That's all I'm saying on that particular one right now. So it's great to see you all. I was going to say I'm sure he's used to it, but no, I wouldn't do that at all, would I? Third Doctor Ian.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Here we are. It's the Sunday show, isn't it? Isn't it? To quote the second Doctor in the Two Doctors, it is a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one, this one. We've got lots to talk about. Listen, just as a big shout out to Paul, who can't join us tonight because he's working. He's working.
How dare you?
Hope everything's all right with his little gig this evening there. He's actually earning some money tonight, so God love him. But I know he'll watch this on playback, so hopefully everything's all right for you over there, Paul. Listen, before we get into talking about everything that's been going on in the Doctor Who world, Third Doctor Ian, do you know over the last few years, various certain types associated with Doctor Who have been basically telling us, the minions in Doctor Who fandom, as well as the world, what we should be thinking and how we should be addressing people and that we should be supporting this and that, you know, all these little things that have suddenly started to take effect in our favorite Time Lord show. It's been a few years now, hasn't it?
It has. Goes back quite a way now, sadly.
Yeah. And we've been talking about it practically all year here on Who's Views as part of headlines. It's been absolutely ridiculous, the stuff they're showing us. Well, this weekend, I just wanted to give you an example of something that happened on Friday, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because yes, here in the United Kingdom, in London to be precise, I want to say huge congratulations to the LGB Alliance, who held their 4th conference down there in that there London town. And it was going swimmingly with people like James Dreyfus actually speaking at the event and lots of other distinguished guests presenting and lots of conversations and talking about same-sex issues, something that's obviously very close to my heart and has been for a few decades now. Well, they had some unexpected guests on Friday afternoon. And of course, they were representing what I term the TQ cult. And what they did is they actually got into the LGB Alliance. Now, this was a conference that was, as I say, to discuss same-sex issues. The LGB Alliance is a charity set up to talk about and discuss and represent same-sex issues. The TQ cult has had to try and has over the last few years tried to close it down. That even went to courts, and the court said there's nothing wrong with this. It is not a hate group. It is nothing like this, what you're suggesting it is. And why shouldn't there be a registered charity to fight for same-sex issues and to discuss same-sex issues? But now we're in 2024. And of course, LGB is not allowed to be, as these people made very, very clear, because on Friday they got into the LGB Alliance conference and released a whole load of crickets and bugs into the auditorium with all these lesbians, gay men and bisexual men and women were listening to the speakers. And look at them. Look at it. Now, there was a few of these. There were a couple of thousand people, I believe, at the gig as well. And look what they did. They let these crickets and these bugs loose. Now,
absolutely disgusting.
It is. It is. Now, bearing in mind, and I'm about to show you who were part of the party that was responsible for this, everybody. But bear in mind that various people associated with our favorite Time Lord show support this nonsense, support this ideology, support this TQ cult. And we're not going to mention any names, although some of them, of course, will be mentioned throughout the show this evening. But they're there. But look at this. These are the people that they're aiming our beloved Time Lord's favorite adventures now at. So these are the people that were arrested on Friday at the LGB Alliance conference. Okay, look at them. They're kids.
It's a long time since somebody said no to them, isn't it?
Totally. And this is what's happening. These kids are being lied to. They are being brainwashed all by, and people are telling me you can't call it a cult. Give over.
I mean,
yes, I can.
That nappy soiler in the green there is obviously so pleased and feels so empowered at what they've done. They feel that there should be absolutely no consequences to what they've done, and the consequence should be massive. I mean, basically, I presume that means that the TQI side of things that have done this, I presume that means they're homophobic.
Correct.
Which is a criminal offence, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that is a hate crime. They should be charged, because I can guarantee you, the Dr. Ian and Who viewers, I can guarantee you that had that been some sort of TQ conference or even a Pride, and that had been done by anybody else, they'd be locked up by now.
Totally.
I can guarantee you that. And what these spoiled brats who have obviously been indoctrinated into this cult have just proven is exactly what Third Doctor Ian has just said. The TQ cult has just proven themselves homophobic. It's absolutely there. Now, something else that's come to light with this as well that I want to share. Now, allegedly, these kids have been working with, adults around them, one of whom is a TW from the Manchester area, allegedly, who is as common as muck, quite frankly, and quite aggressive. And the other one has done time, all alleged, for GBH. Now, this is a letter that these kids were carrying. Now, this is obviously an adult writing this, because it reads, I'm not going to read it out, but it reads as an adult writing this, and then the kids have signed it. Spot the difference in the handwriting here.
God, have they used the pens in their feet by any chance?
I know. I mean, look at the writing. Look at this.
It's age 16, age 17,
and they can't write properly.
What's the mental age, really?
Exactly. This is scary stuff we're dealing with.
Isn't it? You're talking primary school level there, and the handwriting is primary school. My God.
Yeah, we're talking scary stuff here. And they're telling, and certain people are telling me, you can't call it a cult. Yes, I can. And they proved it with their actions on Friday. So to certain people who have been supporting this nonsense over the last few years, do you endorse what happened at the LGB Alliance conference on Friday? Because not one of you have said anything. Even those politicians that are now in government that support this have been very quiet about this. There are certain trans activists that have come out saying it was the best thing and more things need to happen about that, but they're homophobic, as we all know. So it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Not one of them have come out now to say, you shouldn't be doing that. That's ridiculous. That was awful. Why did you do that? There's no adults in the room. But as I say, I guarantee you all, had that been an attack on the TQ law or a Pride, they would have been all out there. The double standards are disgusting.
Pride nowadays is essentially taken over by TQ anyway, isn't it?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
If it had been a trans rally, then said politicians or whatever, or celebrities in quotes, would be clamoring and crawling over each other to get airtime on TV to denounce it.
Yes, totally.
So, you know, words fail me, to be quite honest. Words fail me. It's that they're always the ones that claim they're persecuted, as they do. The ones that claim they're persecuted are always the ones that are aggressive, violent, just plain nasty, and generally the ones doing the persecuting. Don't you find?
Oh, listen. Yeah, I mean, I've been dealing with this stuff now for years, and certainly since around about 2016, when this started, this whole non-binary identity pronoun nonsense started to come. I started to think, hang on a minute, that's going to affect women, and it's going to affect lesbians and gay men. That was what came to my mind immediately. No, you can't do this. You cannot enforce this belief. You cannot live in this imaginary world where you're telling us you are oppressed and this and that, and you've got no rights. You have benefited from the achievements of generations of women and lesbian and gay men who fought for their own rights and communities. You have benefited from that. So shut up and get on with it. So I've dealt with this for quite a long time. Obviously, I'm very aware of that. It is completely up, but you're right. You know, these show business types, especially the media types, the politicians, not one of them has spoken about this. Not one of them have come out to say this shouldn't have been allowed. What are you doing?
Can you imagine if they had to face some of the gay bashing that people had to face in the 70s and 80s?
No.
They would be eradicated. They wouldn't exist anymore.
No,
They'd all of a sudden they'd change back to avoid it.
Yeah,
but I mean,
of course you will.
That's the thing. They aren't even aware of what gay people went
because
through.
they're totally ignorant. I mean, I lived through that period. I had to deal with that. That happened to me. It probably happened to Problem Being, who I know was in the chat with us as well. Thank you for joining us, Lee. You know, there was an awful lot that we dealt with. We had to deal, and now we have to deal with the new homophobia, as I'm calling this, from these very privileged, spoilt brats who have no clue because they're living around in their stupid pronoun. I'm a non-binary. No, you're not. You are not. Get a grip. And if you're a parent with a child that starts all this nonsense, be a parent, be an adult, and tell them they're not. And give them the reality. Sexuality and gender are two different things. If they're just going through a particular thing where they think they might be gay, then they help them through that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fine. But if they're going through this whole thing by saying, oh, I'm non-binary, oh, I'm going to be trans, and so, no, help them out, because they need proper counseling for that. You have to go through a series of incredible psychiatric assistance with that. Counseling, continual counseling. Don't just endorse them. And these brats that turned up on Friday, now, from what I can tell, what happened is that their parents were called. Now, I hope the parents are going to punish these brats for their homophobic action, because that's what it was.
They won't, though, don't you? You know they won't. You know they won't.
I'm hoping they do. I'm also hoping that the police take action, because as far as I'm concerned, that's a hate crime.
It is absolutely a hate crime. It is absolutely a hate crime. If straight people did it, if I'd gone and done it, I'd have been arrested. And there would have been one of those very quick 24-hour courts now would probably be starting a 2-year stretch right now. It is absolutely a crime. It is against the law. They should get prosecuted for it. I think they probably won't. And that makes me angry. But, you know,
there'll be a lot of people trying to protect them, Eden. There'll be a lot of people, especially politicians and show business people, who will possibly try and. But I mean, these people are just as bad. They endorse this. They have helped this. You know, people like who showrunner, alleged showrunner of our favorite show, has been at award ceremonies kicking off about this. No wonder this generation feel empowered to do this nonsense that they're talking about and these actions. It really winds me up. This is the audience, by the way, everybody, that they're aiming Doctor Who at. This is the audience that they want. Think about that for a little while, because isn't that shocking? A lot of you in the chat here with us as well. Let's go to the chat, Ian. Digby, thank you so much for your super chat there as well. Victory to those who stand up to thugs spouting gibberish. Unfortunately, we're back there now. It's not as bad in some cases as it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s, but it's getting there. And this time around as well, it's also because it's all done through words, it's done through accusations. As Ian was suggesting there as well, they wouldn't dare say this to your face because you'd have them. You'd have them. You know, I'm not talking physically, but we're cleverer, we're more cute, we've lived the life, we can put them in their box, quite frankly.
They wouldn't go and disrupt a pub full of skinheads, would they?
Well,
Let's be honest.
Well, most of them will be gay these days as well, to be quite honest. But thank you for that, Digby. That's really good. Chris Lawley is joining us saying the TQ Plus are not representing LGB. No, because they've got absolutely nothing to do with us, have they? John Mason is also saying because they're a bunch of so-and-sos. Absolutely. Problem being is with us, as I said, and he's saying homophobia is alive and well in 2024. It is. This is the new homophobia. It's just under a different guise. And what gets me about this as well is it's tolerated where it shouldn't be. We stamped homophobia out, and this new generation has come in with their nonsense and found that show business will endorse them and validate them, has found out that education, politicians, businesses, sadly, are now coming out with all this nonsense. No, take a look at yourselves, because it's misogynistic and homophobic, and you shouldn't be endorsing it. And it says more about you for doing that than anything else possibly can. Mike Disney is saying mental illness has been facilitated. It absolutely has. And poor Rose, proof of how normal these people are. Matt, the Silent Wee Music King, is saying, you guys won't believe it. I probably would. But someone on whatever that is was just calling me a 4-letter word that begins with N and features Z just for my views on Doctor Who. That's exactly my point, Matt, the Silent Wee Music King. We've been getting that now for several years. We're all right wing. We're all phobes and ots. No, we're not. We're just truthful. And the truth today, of course, is absolutely not to be tolerated by these people, because they want us and they want to dictate to us that they and we abide by their rules and their fantasies, and that we accept grown men in gimp masks and leather walking down the street on a lead. I will not accept that. I will tell them to get a job if I saw that. I've seen cases of this in America where somebody's walking, 2 grown men dressed as dogs. Oh, get a grip with yourselves. Go and see a psychiatrist. Stephen Braddock is with us saying that this is disgusting. It is, isn't it? And Richard Brooks, LGB is problematic to the bigots and homophobes behind the TQ cult contagion. And don't we know it as Doctor Who fans? Because we see it now creeping into our show. And we get told all the time, don't we? Look at that bloody drag queen. For every phobe that leaves the show, instant labeling, another 5 will jump up and replace them. How's that going for you? It didn't work, did it, Ian?
Not very well, is it, really?
No. Marjorie is saying the TQ Plus are a bunch of lunatics, as they proved on Friday at the LGB Alliance conference. Well,
they don't even know who they are themselves, really, do they? Because they every year they add another letter or symbol to their.
It increases all the time.
Title. They change their flag. They add something to it. Most of them probably don't know what all the different bits in their flag are anyway, and it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and you're absolutely right with that one as well. Because they keep adding things. And the reason they keep adding things is that these people can never be satisfied. No, this is why you should never apologize to these fanatics, these cult fanatics. You should never apologize to them, because they're never satisfied. And they have to bend the knee, continue. In fact, it's amazing that they've still got knees, because they're down there that often, bending the knee to whatever the next cause is and adding it to the original LGB flag, which encompassed everything except heterosexuality anyway, really, to an extent. It was all about same-sex issues, but welcoming to all. And they've completely bastardized that flag now. It means absolutely nothing. But when you see them all plastered with their badges and stuff like this, virtue signaling BS. That's what I'm saying about it. What's Legion of James saying about it? The TQ Plus show themselves up for what they truly are every time. It's a hateful cult, brainwashed, entitled idiots, narcissism plus indoctrination equals LGBTQ, proving it is an anti-gay movement. Absolutely, it is. And that's exactly what these kids did on Friday by actually the other annoying thing about it, as well as invading the space set aside for people to talk about same-sex issues and the rise of homophobia that we're increasing now. One of the discussions was how to combat it, how to come together to combat it, like we did before. in its new form. But those poor crickets and bugs had to be destroyed by the venue staff as they followed health and safety procedures.
Yeah.
And because of that, isn't that awful? I mean, where are the animal rights protesters now coming along to get at these kids?
Yeah,
what's
where's
going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, the environment as well. Because I just think, my God, they're so up themselves. And as you said, it's been a long time since somebody said no. And I bet you they all live in very nice parts of London, thank you very much, with middle class to upper class parents who have spoilt them rotten. And like some parents are going along with this nonsense because they want to be diverse and inclusive and tolerant. Be a parent. Grow up and understand that this is not on. This is homophobia. Sort your kids out. For heaven's sake.
I think sometimes some of the parents aren't able to be parents because they probably were quite entitled themselves. This is definitely a multi-generational problem.
Oh, totally.
There'll be children of rich people who've always just said yes to them, and they've now spawned even more mutant brats that just seem to get what they want as well. And you look at the Just Stop Oil protesters, the ones that thankfully were sent to prison for a couple of years, which was fantastic and surprised me. They're all, little Tarquins and Esmeraldas and everything that have gone to public school and all the rest. And and done nothing with it. They've got all that privilege and they've done nothing with it apart from disrupt the lives of people that don't have that privilege. They're just, parents should be fined as well when they're like that, I think. Send them to prison, but also fine the parents. Make it hurt. Make the parents parent the children. Make it hurt.
I would agree with that. I would think, because you've let these kids out, you don't know what they're doing. I would be appalled if I had children and they came back with this sort of news and the police were at my door because of this. They wouldn't see the light of day for months, to be quite honest, and they would be made to pay. But I would expect the fine. And I think somebody should be fined, whether it be the venue, because of course what happens with the venue is they had to deep clean, apparently they had to deep clean, and also the food that had been paid for the conference guests by the LGB Alliance through part of the ticket price was, of course, just thrown away because it couldn't be under health and safety used in case the bugs had got into that. So it had to, that all had to go. What a terrible thing. However, congratulations to the LGB Alliance and everybody that was there at the weekend, because in true British style, it carried on. They just moved to the other room. It was as simple as that. They moved and they did some of it in the reception and they did some of it in the other room. What a waste of time. Usually at the LGB Alliance conferences, you get some idiots outside with their blooming flags, shouting it and whatever, and all these fabulous lesbians and gay men and bisexual gay men and women just walk past them, wave at them and be cheery and camp. They just go past, how you doing? This year they managed to get in. So, but I just want to say well done to the LGB Alliance for carrying on in true style. Rick Storm is saying to us here, I said years ago that these people were out to exclude LGB and nobody would listen, but here we are. They are certainly a problem. And that is why, everybody, there is a hashtag that you need to remember, because it's absolutely true. It's hashtag LGB without the TQ. We are not one community. Spread the word. This needs to be addressed big time now, because this homophobia has been allowed to increase and it's still increasing. So put the word out. It's absolutely.
Haven't they really culturally appropriated the LGB?
Oh, totally. As Legion of James is pointing out to you, Ian, the TQ cult have pretty much taken over all the gay pubs and clubs and make it very clear how unwelcome you are if you do not subscribe to the gender nonsense. I've had that as well. I have been asked with friends to leave prides and gay bars around the United Kingdom because I will not bend the knee to the virtuous signal and TQ cult. I will not do it. They are two different things. Same-sex issues are not the same as gender issues. And because of that, you're not allowed in. You're not tolerated as a gay man or woman anymore. It's ridiculous. But lesbians do not have a penis and gay men do not have a vagina. That's the truth. So when you go to London and Manchester and Brighton and all these sort of places, Glasgow even, in these cities, it's rife, it's vile, it's absolutely vile. It's creeping in everywhere. And when you see that flag with that god awful pyramid thing on it, that's when avoid. Avoid, avoid, avoid. So yeah, you're right, Ian.
We need to reclaim the rainbow. You know, it used to just mean people would smile at a rainbow. You know, you'd see a rainbow and you'd smile, and now you just think, oh, for God's sake.
Well,
You see one in the sky and it just reminds you of the blasted flag and it makes you sick. You
well,
know?
for me, of course, it reminds me of Zippy and George and Bungle.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Rod, Jane and Freddie. But, you know, at the other side of it, for me, it just now, when I see something like that, and nowadays in the UK as well, for some ridiculous reason, it's plastered on ambulances. It's plastered on, I saw Scottish Gas the other day with that bloody flag on it. It just means to me, danger, because it doesn't represent me. It represents a homophobic ideology. And I just can't associate with it. And when I see it, I get all wound up. Can you tell?
So train with it on today.
Oh,
just like, just derail. Go on. Just, it's just virtue signaling. That's all it is. Virtue signaling.
It's people jumping on the next
bandwagon. Do they want the trannies to buy train tickets or whatever? Because, you know, what you're going to do, you're only going to sell about 6 extra tickets. Is it really worth it for the money of?
Well, we're seeing this in Doctor Who, aren't we? They're pandering to this, what they call this new audience, and I've sort of called it out here. It's a mythical new audience. There's that many of them. It's that many. That's why the merchandise isn't selling. That's why you're not getting the ratings anymore. That's why you're not getting the support of us, the proper Doctor Who fans. It's all there for you. But these people are so ideologically brainwashed and so bought into it, and not one of them will actually call out RTD and his cult's nonsense because they're terrified. They carry on with it. Paul Rose is saying they need sitting down and showing footage of actual history and the terror that actually existed before this point, not whether someone looked at them funny or misgendered them, etc. The problem is, Paul, there is that they're rewriting LGB history to suit themselves, and they're shoehorning in people like them all through our history. You can see it. They've even rewritten the original 1969 Stonewall riot to say it was started by a trans woman. It was not. It wasn't. It was started by a lesbian. The trans woman they always quote wasn't even there because he was a drag queen. He was several blocks up the way. Not compos mentis, if you know what I mean. It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. But that's what they're doing. You can't say, you can't tell them about the past because they don't want to know. They really don't want to know. It's about how they're perceiving it. And if we don't agree with that, we are where we are today. I get this all the time, calling these idiots out. I'm used to it now, and I shouldn't be because it's rife homophobia, and it's not really what I put myself down for. Do you know what I mean? And what I was on the front lines for. And sometimes I say to friends of mine, had I known we would get to where we were, Ian, I possibly may not have bothered to fight for same-sex rights because it's just been twisted, completely and utterly twisted. And then all these adults of my age or just below in their 40s who missed it all, I've jumped on it now thinking I'm not missing it again. I'm not going to miss it. I didn't speak up the first time around. I'm not going to miss it again. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Anyway.
It got to such a better place, late 90s, early noughties. It just struck that right balance. And now this deviant section of society have just decided that they want to destroy everything. Yeah. And they're doing a good job. Image. Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's dictatorial. It's dictatorial. Yeah. And I just want to shout out to a certain showrunner as well, whom we've reported saying on a couple of times now, and as we did just a few short weeks ago, he was a Manchester Pride, and we got him on the record. And basically what he said to the radio show was, if we don't all stand together, they're going to come for you. They'll come for us. If you are gay and you are not part of the LGBTQIAA BBC ITV channel or cult, if you're not supporting us, they will come for you. Well, to you, what have you got to say about this?
Yeah. Because who's come for who?
Exactly. As I've said before, they've already come for the LGB community, and they're part of your drive, the TQ cult. They have come for us. It started with the thing you're supporting. Now, if you want to come on this show, fella, and come and talk to us, you're very welcome. You are very welcome.
Fun, wouldn't it? That would really be fun.
Oh, I'd grill him. I'd grill him, I can assure you. But it's an open invitation to all of them, including the fellow we're going to be talking about later on and his new blooming Disney show. Anyway,
I think they lack the grapes, mate. They lack the grapes.
You wouldn't dare. I'd have loads of people that would want to come and them on this show. We do a very live show. I'd insist it was live. They wouldn't dare because they know at the end of the day that they're wrong and that they are not on the right side of history at all. You're on the homophobic side, you utter cretins. We'll move on then. Thank you for joining us, everybody. It's lovely to see you. This is Who's Views. It is Headlines. I wanted to get that out there, Third Doctor Ian and Who Views, because this show usually gets over 1,000 views. And that's an awful lot of people at the top of the show to get the word out. So if you understand what I'm saying there, get the word out. LGBT is not representative of LGB. So it's LGB without the TQ. There you go. We're going to move back to Doctor Who now. Back to Doctor Who. And stand by your beds because I know you are all thrilled and very excited because I know that you're all going to be entering the competition to see the new Christmas special, which is called Joy to the World. I can see Ian rushing right now to so excited there, aren't you, Ian?
I've sent 5 applications in already.
Yeah, I thought so. If you're not aware of this, if you are not aware of this, here it is here from the Radio Times. Doctor Who fans can win an exclusive screening of the 2024 Christmas special. Do you fancy seeing Joy to the World on the big screen?
Woo.
It goes on. Doctor Who fans have a chance to win an intimate screening of this year's festive special at their local cinema. The much anticipated, oh, please give it to RadioTimes.com. People really, honestly, they don't care. Nobody cares. A minority that much. Easy care. No, it's not anticipated at all. I guarantee you. But anyway, the much anticipated episode is written by Doctor Who legend Stephen Moffat, and sees the return of Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor, as well as a guest role for Bridgerton's Nicola Coughlan. One lucky fan will get the chance to see the episode with up to 30 of their friends and loved ones in a cinema local to them by entering a prize that closes at midnight on Sunday, the 13th of October. Now, to point out, that's today, as we are broadcasting live to you across the nation, our wonderful nation here, and across the world. So if you're going to get this done, if you are desperate to do this, if you're really that excited or deranged and want to actually apply for this, you need to get it done right now after this show. Thank you. But here we go. It carries on. The competition is part of the show's Friendship is Universal celebration, which listen, at this point, I want to say the Star Trek people seem to have forgotten that. So what the hell are they doing? It's open to residents of the United Kingdom and the United States only, with no date given for when the special private screening would be, only that it would be before it airs on Christmas Day. That means the winner and the guest will be amongst the first fans on the planet to see the completed episode in all of its glory. Whoopie-doo. Teasing what Joy to the World has in store, showrunner Russell T. Davies said, "It's mad. It's one of the maddest Christmas specials you'll ever see. It's epic. It goes on to so many different places. It's a great story of who the Doctor is when he's alone, blah, blah, blah." Now, that could have been lifted from any point in the last 10 years, couldn't it?
I was just thinking that. Yeah, it's the same text, isn't it? Just
heard it all before, haven't we, Who viewers?
Same crap, different story, different episode.
It really is ridiculous. The episode picks up after the season 14 finale, Empire of Death, where Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday said a tearful farewell to the Doctor and their adventures, and she chose to reconnect with her biological mother instead. The Doctor Who website describes Friendship is Universal as a celebration of the companionship and camaraderie that is at the heart of Doctor Who, both in the characters we love and the heart or hearts of every fan of the Whoniverse. Yeah, and as I say, though, the Star Trek people are conspicuously very quiet. They seem to have forgotten all about it and moved on. And I suggest, personally, Ian, that BBC Studios do the same thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, the talk about what it's all allegedly about. And then you think back to companions like Jo Grant and Sarah Jane and you know, Tegan and Nyssa and Leela, Romana and Romanas. And it had that companionship and that camaraderie, didn't it? And yet now they're having to do an actual thing to promote it. It just happened and promoted itself with proper Doctor Who. They actually have to have a proper formal push to promote it happening with this crap.
Yes,
And it's going to die on its arse, like everything else that buffoon has touched. It's just going to die on its arse. It'd be quite funny watching it die on its arse, to be fair.
Well, we'll be looking at the viewing figures, of course, for the Christmas episode, won't we? We've got 30, says Problem Bean, screams of desperation to fill the auditorium. Mike Disney is saying, if I win, I'll invite you all. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
That's cruel, isn't it? That's
It
cruel.
really is. That's the ultimate punishment there from Mike Disney. Lee Smith, how many Doctor Who fans have 30 friends? We
Classic
do.
Doctor Who fans, you'll have loads of friends. Classic Doctor Who, yeah.
We've got more than 30 friends. Look how many people are watching us right now. We've got loads of you. Hello to everybody. We are all friends here. It's nice to see you all. The Fifth Man is saying joy to Who's World. Paul Broughton is very naughty.
Are they would they be dusty, perhaps, or just ordinary?
Oh, terrible, terrible. Marjorie is saying to us that she's so excited. Not. And Woodhouse 122, I'm hoping it doesn't snow at Christmas, as I will be wanting to touch grass.
Very good.
Some great comments coming from you all here. My Rocco is here saying this will bring up the total of attendees to 31. Julianne is being more
according to iPlayer, it'll be 8,307,000.
Yes, on the iPlayer overnight, it's going to get billions, isn't it? Of people watching it. Yeah. Are there 30 fans of RTD2 Who? Says Julianne. We've got Mark Reeves also saying to us, if you win, you only have to watch it once. If you lose, you have to watch it twice. That's me. That's brilliant. And Dalakai, hello Dalakai. Oh dear, if you were giving tickets away for free, it would be a big fat no. Domgo is also saying to us, it's yes, I don't know if I can say that word anymore on the show. It's one of the shortest Exmo specials you'll ever see. It's an hour, isn't it? I don't know. And Rick Storm is saying, the judge, I sentence you to an early viewing of Doctor Who. And so twerking to himself, says poor Rose. I know. It's ridiculous. Oh, hello to Barry Stroud. Barry Stroud's with us. Hello, Barry Stroud. Nice to see you. I can't enter. Being a New Zealand citizen, have I been marginalised? Several times, apparently.
You've been mercifully excused, really. You know.
Yeah, you've had a lucky escape.
Yeah,
but some people, believe it or not, will be. Yeah, they'll be entering this, won't they? Lee Smith is also saying to us, why don't we all just touch tinsel? Maybe he'll come out, Lee, at some point in the next couple of weeks, and because he's opening his mouth a minute, as we're going to see in a few minutes. Maybe he'll come out and say, oh yes, we must all touch tinsel if you don't like our show. What else have we got here? Will even 30 people apply for this, says Richard Brooks?
It'll be mainly the people that were at the October concert in Cardiff last year, you know, sort of like all squealing, and you know, when they applaud really quickly.
Yeah,
you know. It'll be all of them. They'll just fit one auditorium, and then you can seal all the doors and
shut it again. And then Neville's got here cricket loving.
But then I thought no.
Neville's saying cricket loving Doctor Who fans will love it. They will. They're probably wetting themselves already, aren't they? Nibbles is also saying the cricket people will be there. You just know that they're all going to have green hair and blue hair and all this sort of nonsense.
Yep.
And their personal pronoun badges.
Yeah.
And Stephen's reminding us, forget Doctor Who at Christmas. Wallace and Gromit all the way, says Stephen. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know 30 people I hate, says Hughes Janus. Yeah, but there you go. That's what's happening with that. So
we don't even know if it's on Christmas Day yet, do we?
The likelihood is it is going to be on Christmas Day as part of the Christmas lineup. Yes, Russell T Davis has said that he wants Doctor Who on a Christmas Day. He wants it back on the Christmas Day slot. Last year's was on Christmas Day, so I would imagine yes. I think that's a guarantee that it's going to be on Christmas Day. But yeah. So there you go. If you are interested in seeing the forthcoming Christmas Bethel Joy to the World, and you want to enter a competition with about 2 or 3 other people, you've got a good chance of winning, actually, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's it there. Goodness me. I think I'll give it a miss, though.
Yeah, it doesn't really float my boat, to be quite honest. I think I'll stay in and watch some classic instead.
Well,
I'll
you
watch
can't
the
because
Demons again.
you're going to be watching the new one at some point, though, won't you? Because we're going to be
Oh
reviewing it.
yeah, but you know, you want to get yourself in the mood by watching something decent first, don't you? Build up your resilience and a bit of Pertwee in there, and then go for it.
Yeah. Hello to everybody that is joining us in the chat. It's nice to see you. And Captain Have Fun. I would have loved to have seen an 8th Doctor miniseries with Dark Eyes costume Sonic. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, is that the Bog Fanish thing? Well, no.
I think it is.
But unless they use de-aging tech, it's too late. McGANN is now showing his age. He looks much older than the 8th Doctor's regeneration. Wow.
It probably looked a bit young in that anyway. So, you know, I think he carries it quite well, McGann, to be quite honest.
I do as well. We're going to be talking about Paul McGann a little bit later on in the show. I don't think he's aging that badly either. But I personally, myself, Captain Have Fun with respect. But I just keep thinking Tom aged visibly during 7 years of his almighty run, and nobody said anything because we didn't in those days because it didn't matter. It was still the Doctor. So, you know, I don't know.
It's like when you live with somebody, though, isn't it? You see them aging, but you don't necessarily notice it. It's only when you look back that you notice it. Yeah. And of course, we didn't have video and anything like that when Tom was on his run for the majority of it. It was only around the time of season 18 that people were getting videos and things like that domestically. So you just remember Tom when he started, but you still had Tom on screen, so you didn't really notice the difference. It was only if they decided to show, say, Genesis of the Daleks again, you'd go, "Oh, he looks young." Yeah, but he aged in the role.
Yeah, he did. And I think as well, of course, I mean, you know, if they came back, if certain actors came back now, I mean, look at Peter. He's a marvelous Doctor Who now. I'm not that I'm saying he wasn't when he was 28, 29, whatever it was, but he would say that the Doctor should be the age he is now, which is what, about the 60 mark, isn't it, or something like that? You know, I tend to agree, really, because you've got all that experience of being an actor as well as life experience to bring to the Doctor. Exactly. But only talented actors at the age of 40-something can pull it off. Sadly, recently we haven't had anything of that since Capaldi, really. And look at the age he was. He was 50-something, wasn't he? Nibbles is saying to us, I look forward to the review, JD. God bless you. I'm not really. Really not. But we will be doing it. But I'm really not.
We'll have fun.
We will have the usual fun. And yeah. What else have we got in the chat from you all as well? It's good to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Woodhouse122 would be saying to us, I'll be saving the season 25 box set to binge watch over Christmas than watch the RTD drivel. Yep, absolutely. That's a good idea, isn't it? Oh, and Captain Have Fun saying to us again, I think Tom aged a lot faster than normal. He was only 6 years older than me when he quit. Drinking and smoking is bad for you. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But he's still alive.
And he's still there. And Mark Greaves is with us. JT, thank you for your very kind email this week. Made me feel like I belong. Yeah, and that's the point of this. I just want to point out, Mark, you are very, very welcome. Mark has been feeling a little bit isolated and a little bit down recently. And Mark sent me a lovely email saying to everybody how much he appreciated everybody on Who's Views, not just here on the show, but more importantly in the chat. Because he felt it was a nice community, which I think it is as well. So, Mark, it's lovely to see you. Great to see. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your email. And listen, we're all here. We are all here. And yes, try not to worry about anything because we're all.
And you're a vital part of it, Mark.
Absolutely, absolutely. Super Lev is back with us. Hello, I've not been around for a while. Where have you been? I want 100 lines from you. I must not. So you can email it me. Oh no, you can't because you copy and paste it. Get in the corner. Yeah. No, how dare you, Mrs.
Just send a video of him writing the lines.
Yeah, exactly. Kirsty's pointing out for me as well that if you do want to get in touch with us, you can at whosviews1@gmail.com. Thank you to Kirsty for that. Thank you.
Shout out to the mods.
Absolutely. And we don't mean the rock and rollers and all that sort of stuff there. What else have we got here? Superlab says he's been at the pub. How dare you? I'm a bit jealous about that, actually, because I'm not allowed in any of them anymore. I get thrown out. And Legion of James is saying to Mark as well, I feel the same. I love this channel and the great bunch in the chat. You are a great bunch. You really, really, really are.
Absolutely.
And Sheila B in the devotions is saying that Mark's punishment should be to watch the Christmas episode. Yes, there we go, Mark. You are really. But anyway, that was that particular story. The big story of the week here, as you'll know, Ian. Oh gosh, the big story of the week.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, our new leading man, everybody. Oh my goodness me. Right, so Mr. Gatwa, as you will know, made an appearance, a recorded appearance on that man Graham Norton's alleged chat show. He's somebody else that just can't be. I've got no time for him either, I'm afraid.
He's like a little Irish walnut with a beard, isn't he? He's just
but the
irritating.
format hasn't changed since what? When did he start? Was it the 90s on Channel 4 with the same show? And then the BBC poached him and he transferred over to. I remember when it was fresh and he used to do these internet things because the internet was new then. Remember, and he would find little things and what have you. And it was fresh and it was new. It wasn't a chat show. To me, there's only Parkinson. That's a chat show, and Wogan as well. Wogan was good at what he did too. Parkinson was the king, and then Wogan was there as well. No, nobody else can touch them as far as I'm concerned. But here we have Graham, who's made a fortune out of this thing, and he's been going for, it must be 30 years he's been doing this show. Easily. Surely. It's on Channel 4 first, then it transferred over to the BBC, and it's essentially the same show. And it's not an in-depth thing, it's an entertainment thing, and it's quite shallow, and you can't have an in-depth conversation with people when there's 4 or 5 or 6 of them sitting on a sofa. All that magic's gone now. We don't get to know these people anymore.
Laughing at each other.
Yeah, and they're there just to plug the book or a show or a film or whatever they've done at the time. It's blatant. They're not talking about lives anymore, like legends like Parkinson and Wogan did. It's just superficial.
He really got into the nitty gritty, didn't he? I mean, Parkinson probably had about 3 guests usually. On average, you would have 3, wouldn't he?
Yes.
And he would really get into the meat of it and ask some really searching questions.
Yeah, and then he would have the conversation between the 3 of them to And a lot of the time as well, the magic of Parkies, a lot of the time he was sitting there.
Yeah, do you remember that? I know it's off on a tangent a bit, but there was Freddie Starr with Muhammad Ali. And he told Muhammad Ali a joke, and right at the very end, the punchline was shouting something, and he made Muhammad Ali jump. And it built the tension up, and it was so funny. But Parkinson just sat there letting it happen. Fantastic telly. Just sat there letting it happen. He'd orchestrated it, and boom, off it went. Yeah. Norton couldn't do that.
No, we couldn't. I've got no time for it, Who viewers, and a lot of you in the chat haven't as well. A shill show, says Barry Stroud. I'm glad I said that correctly. Mike Disney saying it's all about consuming product this day. It really, really, really is. Kirsty is saying I kind of have a soft spot for the show. It doesn't surprise me because you've grown up with it. And there's a whole generation of people of Kirsty's age that don't know a proper show like we do. We were so lucky. It's absolute ridiculous nonsense, really. So we've got all that. Thank you very much. Dongo is saying Norton's as funny as an ingrowing toenail. He's made a fortune out of it, though, as well. He really, really has. And there was one there I saw as well from Paul Roughton who's saying not the first time Norton's had to be cut out of Doctor Who. John's making an interesting point that younger people have no attention span for a proper chat show. Now, this is what it always comes on, isn't it? Oh, they don't have a proper... Why? What happened in society? Why have they not? Is it because technology gives them everything instantly? Is it because they don't have to go to a library anymore? Is it because they don't have to go off their arse and switch the television off? Is it because they don't have to get off their arse and go to get their shopping? What is it about that? And why do the rest of us with sanity and awareness have to suffer for these individuals? I don't understand it. Dalek Eye saying, I'm with you, JT. Cannot cope with G. Norton. Same old, same old. Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But anyway, the whole thing about this is, of course, is that in this interview, and I tried to find out when it was recorded. Now, I believe it was recorded over the last couple of weeks. So it was recent, the recording. It was broadcast on Friday. But you may remember this week, the headlines when it came to Doctor Who was... Ncuti Gatwa was commenting that he was shooting a 3rd series. Now then, on Friday, I think this was Wednesday or Thursday when this all came out, saying the third series is going ahead, the third series is going ahead, the third series is going ahead, because Gatwa is on Graham Norton show, and he says this. But then on Friday, that happened. The BBC cuts Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who comment confirming a third series for the 15th Doctor. Aha! The plot thickens.
Intrigue.
Aha. Well, my dear Watson, it does indeed, doesn't it?
It does.
So, now bearing in mind, there's also a lot of rumours going on as well, some of which you will have heard. Could they be true? We've mentioned on headlines before that some of the rumours that are going around right now are parallel to what we were hearing in 2019, 2020. I think it was 2020, actually. My dates are all going out of the head, about what was happening with the Chibnall Whittaker era. And they were true. They came out to be true. The show was going to be cancelled. It was going to be pulled. She was leaving. He was leaving. The entire production team was leaving. It turned out to all be true. Now, there are certain elements around now, and I'm beginning to wonder,
what are you deducing?
Nothing. I've got a cup of tea. Oh, you mean in Sherlock Holmes style, Miss Marple style of deducing?
That's the one.
I am deducing, probably wrongly, that some of the rumours I'm hearing could also now be true. Let's have a look at this and let's have a little discussion, shall we, Who Views? Yep. Let's have a debate. So there's your line now. The BBC cut Gatwa's Doctor Who comment confirming a third series. This is from Doctor Who TV. Recent press reports are stating that Ncuti Gatwa is returning to film a third series of Doctor Who in 2025. However, it appears the situation is not quite so clear-cut. During an appearance on the Graham Norton show, Ncuti Gatwa was widely reported to have confirmed his future involvement, indicating a third run for his Doctor. However, this part of his comment was notably edited out from the final BBC broadcast, raising questions about the certainty of these plans. Originally, Ncuti Gatwa was reported as saying, "It's all going well. We did the second series this year. The Christmas special is coming up, and we are filming a third series next year." But in the final broadcast version of the interview, Gatwa said, "It's all going well. We finished the second season earlier this year. We've got the Christmas episode coming out. Snip. At Christmas. Snip. But it's been amazing." Now, as they say there, I didn't watch it. I had it recorded for me in case he said something worth reporting on the show. But when this came out, I thought, I don't need to watch it, so I haven't watched it. But according to people that have watched it, it's very noticeable editing. Interesting. While fans took his original comment as a clear confirmation of a future series beyond next year, the decision to admit the part about the third series filming suggests that things are still very much up in the air. Adding to that, RTD reiterated that no official commission for Series 16 or Season 3, as he and, of course, his crew refer to it, has been made. Yet, it adds there. The decision to commission Season 3 will not be made until after Season 2 has aired, Davis said in this month's Doctor Who magazine, released this week. And that's always been the arrangement since the start.
No, it hasn't.
Well, it's entirely likely that there are at least plans for filming, and Gatwa is just getting a bit ahead of himself. This all will be likely be dependent on the Disney Plus deal and their plans with the show after their 2 seasons have aired. Now, let's run into what, because we've been talking about this for ages now, haven't we? Let's bear this in mind as well. We know that the leads are out of contract at the moment. They're not there. So him coming along and get the payment to do this for Norton's show is very good of him. Why he's not on nearer to the Christmas episode, I don't know. I would have expected him at least a week or 2 weeks before Christmas. Yeah, maybe it was because of his schedule, because he is doing a play. Maybe they could have left that particular episode till nearer the Christmas time, because who's going to be out talking about Joy to the World? We already know who's going to be out there. If he's not available, it's going to be the other one, isn't it? It's going to be the showrunner. Let's face it. It might even be Nicola, but surely she wants a break to relax after filming God knows how many episodes of Bridgerton.
You would think so.
Yes.
And if they have her on, it'll only be a fleeting mention. They'll be talking about Bridgerton most of the time, I would have thought.
Exactly. And they'll detract from Doctor Who because it'll all be about the one she's famous for. Anyway.
The one that more people watch.
Exactly. So we've got all this going on here as well, haven't we? Now, I've said before on the show, haven't I, Ian? I am absolutely sure there will be some form of third version of a series, whether it be in the form of 4 or 5 specials through the year or another 8-episode series, whatever it's going to be. I am sure the show will have some sort of presence on television in 2026. I'm absolutely sure of it. I just can't think what format they would do.
But Bad Wolf can afford to do it in
On their
solo.
own. Yes, they don't need Disney. BBC Studios and Bad Wolf can do it themselves. Not a problem. That's why I'm sure that if Disney walked away tomorrow, I'm sure they would be upset because it's less money for them, and they'd have to find a new distributor outside of the
admitting
UK.
that it's failed.
It's an admission of failure in a sense, and it would get a lot of press, not just from the likes of us, but in the trade.
Yeah.
In the trade. Bearing in mind as well that the Disney deal also covers that spin-off thing they're doing with the Sea Devils. So this is all speculation. We're discussing as fans do here. You know, we're putting our thoughts across. We'll come to you in the chat in a minute. But even if they go ahead for a third year, doesn't necessarily mean that Gatwa is going to be picked up again, does it?
No. I think because they've been going on so much since. I mean, they were saying the Gatwa era was a success before his first Christmas special had aired. You know, they were telling us how much of a success it was before anybody had even seen it apart from themselves. But then they congratulate themselves and give each other awards every time they manage to flush the toilet on their own. So it's not a big surprise, is it? But if Disney walk away, they've been telling everybody that this is wonderful. The ratings are massive. But if Disney walk away, then that will just underline the fact that they're talking complete porkies. Because if it was the success that Bad Wolf are saying it is, then Disney would want more of it, not less. You know, they only want to tie themselves and benefit from the success of things. They're not going to want to tie themselves to a failure. So if it is a failure, they'll walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's face it, it has been a flop.
Oh, God. Yeah.
This year's 2024 series of Doctor Who, Series 1, as they call it, was not successful. They've even admitted that, saying, well, the ratings weren't as high as we wanted. They were nowhere near what they wanted. They honestly, I think, thought they were going to get 8, 9, 10 million a week for nonsense. The nonsense, the puerile, shallow, juvenile space babies, for crying out. The Devil's Board, please do me a favor. As if anyone with any common sense was going to get clicked into Doctor Who because of that utter nonsense, you know. So it's been a failure. It has been a failure. We have to wait and see, of course, what the Sea Devil thing's going to be. But I just think, hang on a sec. There will be a reason why they've clipped what Gatwa allegedly has said in the recording. And isn't it interesting how it got back to them? You know?
Yeah. I think it says a lot reading between the lines. It says a lot. If Series 3 was going to happen, and Russell T Davies has said he's been writing it for a few weeks now. So if it does happen, there would have been no harm leaving it in there. The fact that they've taken it out and it's been so noticeably reported and it was so clearly edited, then that just means that they don't really care, that they're happy that people talk about it, that it's got this question mark over it.
The other thing it could say to me is that on this occasion, maybe his friend, the alleged showrunner, wasn't with him.
Yeah, his handler, you
Which
mean?
He has been. He was on the other stuff beforehand, wasn't he? When they were publicising the show at the very beginning, they were there because you could see him on that one show nonsense as well. They were looking off, and you just know they're looking for advice from certain people. I'm just surmising. I'm just theorising there. Sorry. Talents of Wayne Chang. I bet he got a verbal kicking for saying that. If they're all chatting regularly.
Yeah. But then again, if he's not under contract, can they give him a verbal kicking of any kind? Because he's not an employee.
They could really. If he's not under a contract and he said something there, then they could say, look, you can't say things like that. This is this and this or whatever. Or could it be, and I'm purely speculating here, could it be that the rumors are true? and that he has not been included in any future plans. It's just a rumor. It's there, but you know, it could explain why it was snipped. Paul Rose said to apparently JT they are working on the third series, but Disney has not confirmed yet. Yeah, as Ian's just said, then we have spoken about that before, because Russell has said, and we've reported it here on Headlines before, he has started writing the scripts for series 3. That's all. So if he's writing those scripts for series 3 and he's in the same vein as he was when he did series 1 and 2, it's going to be another massive flop because nobody in the UK will care. Nobody worldwide will care. The minority of fans will probably start drifting away anyway as they start being arrested for nonsense. So, you know, allegedly, you know, all this sort of stuff. But, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, and as Lee Smith is saying to us, it's all humours. It really is.
Copyright that. That's good.
Yeah, we'll have that. Thank you very much, Lee. And we've got here, Bet RTD gave him a telling off. Well, as I said, maybe not. Maybe, possibly not. Maybe not. You just don't know when people fall out and when they don't fall out, do you?
No, you don't. You don't. But the much maligned JNT would never have had this kind of rubbish going on.
No, because he was there.
Never.
He was there all the time. And also because he didn't play games. He just went in and did his job. Now they're all busy playing games and keeping things secret, and just it's all about the business now, isn't it? It's about keeping the business happy, keeping the money happy. Never mind your fans, who are so important in any sort of show like this. Never mind them. They can go swing according to these producers and these people with the money. Oh, we don't need them. Yes, you do. And I think Disney have learned the lesson there. Oh, ho, ho. Yeah. But you do. You absolutely do need us, and you need to keep us sweet, and you need to listen to us, and you need to treat us properly. Not just say it's not for you anymore, because there's no one coming up to replace us. No matter how hard you try to pander to these idiots, they're not coming. It's as simple as that. But it's also, as I say, about the money. Keep the money happy. Keep the money happy. It doesn't matter about the public. It doesn't matter about anything else. Keep the money happy. Who are you making the show for then, you bizarre people? You really are a bunch of bizarre horses. I just
They've
don't
lost
get
the
it.
priorities, haven't they? They've lost it completely.
Entertainment is no longer about entertaining. It's about making people rich. And it's about pushing their agendas and messages in a desperate attempt to affect society, the world society as well. You know, it's just, it makes me ill sometimes.
And reality doesn't work that way. People aren't as stupid as they hope they are. So, you know, the viewing public, as it diminishes, can see what they're trying to do. They can see through the messaging that they're trying to do. They won't have any of it, and they vote with their remotes and turn over or turn off. And can you blame them? You know,
it's true.
Get more of them to turn off and subscribe to Whose Views.
Hurrah. And then Don goes saying to us here, the funny thing is, was the Radio Times that reported it, and then the BBC clipped it. Who's running the BBC these days? Is it the Labour Party? Well, the thing with the Radio Times as well is it's nothing to do with the BBC now. The BBC sold it off years ago, and it's now an independent production in consultation with BBC Studios. So, of course, even though it's an independent production, they kiss the arse of the BBC to keep it going, even though they can, of course, now, in this competitive market we find ourselves in these days, report on ITV shows, Channel 4 shows, Channel 5 shows, all the independent productions, satellite, American, they can do all that sort of stuff now as well. But they still, their priority is still to be the BBC stuff. So they will, I mean, you can tell with the interviews, they're not going to question RTD at all about some of this stuff. And they're going to say everything's wonderful, marvelous, just because he does. You know, they're not going to argue with him. Mike Disney,
aren't they?
Yeah, that's all it is. It's propaganda a lot of the time. And Mike Disney is saying, I think season 3 is going ahead. Anything else is just wishful thinking. As I say, that's our stance here on Whose Views. Yes, there will be a form of a series 3, because to not do it is admitting failure, and they will never do that. I do think there will be some form of Doctor Who on in 2025. I don't think it will be a course correction. And where I stand today, as of the 13th of October, I think it will either see out Gatwa or not feature him. There, I've said it. That's what I think of what's going on. As Lee Smith is saying, I agree with this. It's the final countdown. Absolutely. But Matthew Pound reminds us it's all going well. It's all going well. It's funny, isn't it, Matthew? Because every week we report on this show to something that says it's not. It's not. And let's see the ratings for Joy to the World. Okay, on that all
really
important
interesting
showing when the family apparently is trapped around the television. Let's see who wins out and what it gets then.
Especially if they shoehorn it in straight after Wallace and Gromit, then we know
I
why
think they
they're
will.
doing that. Yeah,
I think they
it'll
will.
be
I think they will. I think it'll be
cool.
something there because you've got your mainstays. I've said before, you've got Strictly on Christmas Day, and you've got the Wallace and Gromit thing as well. But of course, we've also got to remember as Doctor Who fans that Doctor Who will now also be available from midnight on Christmas Eve, Christmas morning.
Yeah.
That's the deal with Disney. You know, so that Disney will be putting it out across the world at whatever times they did before, the reasonable times there everywhere else in the year, in the world. But we will get it from midnight on iPlayer, and then it'll be on later on the BBC One. Again, I'm going to ask the question: if you're a Doctor Who fan and you're staying up till midnight for a Doctor Who episode, get a life, quite frankly, because you can get it later on in the day. I mean, it's Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. If you've got kids, you shouldn't be watching Doctor Who. There's more important things for you to be doing that evening. You should be welcoming in Father Christmas and giving his reindeer some carrots.
Absolutely.
If you're a child, you shouldn't be up. If you're a child, you shouldn't be up at midnight on Christmas Eve. You should be in bed asleep, quite frankly. Call me old-fashioned, everybody. Traditionalist. I think it's important.
Good part of growing up.
Yeah. And who's going to watch Doctor Who? Who's going to watch Doctor Who on iPlayer on Christmas morning when there's things to do, like presents to open and family to welcome and sprouts that you've got to get off the boil because you've put them on 3 days before, you know, because that's what you do. You put sprouts on at least 3 days before Christmas. It's the rule. So you've got all this to do. Some people are going to be working on Christmas morning as well. You know, some people in certain industries, they will have to be working on Christmas Day. And big shout out there to them already. You know, we've got Tyler Durden Smile back with us saying, could he have said something he shouldn't have, but as it's pre-recorded interview, it could be edited out. That's exactly what's happened, Tyler. We've pointed that out here. That's exactly what he said. He said, according to this article, that Series 3 was confirmed and he was going to be filming a third series in 2025 for 2026. And that's what was edited out. So that confirmation that all fans want, well, a small amount of fans wanted, wasn't there. And some of them, of course, on YouTube aren't very happy about that because they've gone back to being, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Well, they can't cope much at the best of times, can they? So they're really going to melt down over that.
Well, they can't cope with real life, can they? As we've seen, you know.
Not at all.
All
round.
Yeah, Bill Lowry is saying to us, Disney is waiting to see if the series picks up with the second series to decide if it's worth putting more money into. I agree with that as well. I mean, I think they'll have an indication now. They say, ooh, what's gone on here? It wasn't the blockbuster you seem to think it was going to do. Also, of course, Disney seems to be, as a lot of other people on the Tube of Who are talking about, going through some sort of phase. They seem to be course correcting on major stuff. I've watched a couple of Disney outputs this year, Deadpool being one of them. There was no nonsense in it at all. There was no agendas in that at all, as far as I could see. And a lot of the time, they were taking the pee out of it. The renaissance in Hollywood continues. I saw Twisters over the summer as well. And even though it was just a complete reworking of the first one from all those years ago, I enjoyed it, Ian, because there were no politics in it. I actually was entertained for 90 minutes in a theatre, in a cinema. I just thought, oh my God, I came out realizing, oh, I wasn't preached to there. That's amazing.
It's quite refreshing, isn't it?
Totally. But I think it's happening more and more and more.
I think ultimately it's the money that speaks, though, isn't it? It's the reason behind everything. And it's just what they focus on. And if the money's not coming through because they've been following a retarded ideology, then they are going to course correct. Otherwise, they're going to go bankrupt.
Well, it's taken them a long time then, hasn't it, really? And you know, if Hollywood go down that route, then poor old people like BBC Studios, it's going to take a couple of years, but they'll have to follow and perhaps some sanity will get through. Who knows, everybody? Who knows? Paul Richards is saying to us here, it's a series in decline run by a touch of narcissistic morons. And Philip Roy is back with us saying, if season 3 had been confirmed, RTD would be shouting it from the hilltops. The BBC issued a fatwa on Gatwa and cut his comments. Yes, because the deal's not done. It's as simple as that. The deal isn't done. His contract's not signed. So they cut it all out. That's how I'm looking at it. What do you think in the chat? That's certainly how I'm looking at this.
Fatwa on Gatwa. I like that.
Fatwa on
That's good.
Gatwa.
That's good.
Legion of James is saying they'll be waiting to see if Disney will renew contract to determine what they have to spend going forward in and what form show will take, full series or a year of specials. That's certainly true there. But as because even though, as I say, Disney and Bad Wolf and BBC Studios can do this without Disney very, very easily, I would imagine. They would have to see how much money they haven't got to play with, and then they would have to set up a brand new distribution deal with somebody else to get the third series out there. It's possible in that case you could be looking, if Disney say no, at a hiatus. Yeah. And that's the proof of the pudding, because would it ever come back? I don't think so.
There won't be any writing campaigns, will there?
No. And the press won't be coming back with those silly little badges saying "Save Doctor Who" like we had in 1985.
Yeah,
there'll be none of that.
That's when people cared.
Well, exactly. If it had been a success as TARDIS Travels, then Disney would have commissioned the third season straight away.
Probably some truth to that.
There is. It's because if you've got a good product which is doing well, you want to sustain that.
Secure it. You want to secure it. You don't want to let your rights run out. And then try and renegotiate from scratch. You want to secure it now. Like football teams, they want to keep a star player, so they'll try and tie them to a longer contract.
Yeah,
it's quite normal. So I agree with TARDIS Travels there.
Yeah, the business side of it is very important in that sense, because they do want to make money out of this. Allegedly, they're not. Still looking into all that and whether or not we can talk about that, but legal reasons. But that's out there. I'm just putting it there. I don't get, says Dalekai, how Gatwa has been an amazing success. I do not know anyone who rates him as the Doctor. Well, I can beat that. How many people have said to you guys in the chat, Who viewers, who is Doctor Who today? Is it still going on? Is it still there? I bet you've all had that, haven't you? I bet you've all had that. Really, really do. Yeah. See, Super Lev, I've still not watched Gatwa, and he's one of our own. So thank you for that. Rose is saying to us, hello Rose, hi JT and the Third Doctor Ian, what did you think on my post on Instagram yesterday? I gave you a shout out. That's Kirsty's department. I have to be honest, I don't do anything except provide the graphics for the Instagram because they refuse to have it. I've got enough of this social media nonsense, honestly, and I don't like it. I think it causes more trouble, more grief. However, Kirst is running the Instagram for us and doing a marvelous job from what I believe. So Kirsty's in the chat. Maybe you can let Rose know, Kirsty, and then let me know later on, and Third Doctor Ian know what Rose sent us. If you want to get in touch with me,
now.
It's the old-fashioned way, whosviews1@gmail.com. It will take me time to get back to you, but I will get back to you. But that's where you get hold of me. And we have a Facebook page as well, Whose Views on Facebook, but I use that as a show page, really. We should look at that as well to see if there's any ways we can change the settings on it. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, Who Viewers. It's terrible, isn't it? Absolutely awful. What else? It is. But it did well amongst the lobotomy community, according to statistics, says Matthew Pounder. He may think that, but I couldn't possibly comment. What else have we got? Yes, yeah. So I'm sure there would be, as long as they can get a distribution deal. There is no way the BBC and Bad Wolf would want season 3 not to appear. They will do everything they can. But as I think I've said to you all on the show before, can you imagine, everybody, having dumped on all those people that were showing Doctor Who for years, like ABC in Australia, like what do they call them, the public broadcasting services in America?
Oh, PBS.
All those people that were supporting Doctor Who for all those years, having dumped on them and said, no, you lot aren't getting it anymore. We're going with Disney. Blah 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 blah. Fna. Would they take it back in the state it's in now, knowing they're not going to make ratings? I don't think so. Why would they want to? Perhaps Australia would, because apparently, allegedly, Australia and Canada are all up the creek with this nonsense, and they're all wearing pronoun badges and all that. But can you see that? Can you imagine going cap in hand back to your original broadcaster saying, we've got this series, we've got these 8 episodes, do you want to show them next year? That's going to be a tough sell, isn't it?
It would be, especially though if it continued from series 1 and 2, which they hadn't been able to show. Why would they?
Yeah.
You know, they've got no lead into it, have they? It's just series 3 in isolation.
It is. It really is. Yeah. That's the food for thought there, everybody, isn't it? Let's all have a little think of that. As we look at Steve Thompson's quote here, unless there's some earth-shattering change in direction for this series, I can't see ratings going quite the opposite. Well, I'm sure that I'm going to win the ratings game on our review shows. I'm sure it's going to go below 1.9 at some point. I really am. Whether it be Christmas, probably not, but certainly in the next series, whenever they start to broadcast that. Because remember, they haven't even told us when that's going to be out.
No.
And also remember, everybody, that they tend to put this thing in at Christmas time, don't they, to say coming soon. And we know Russell wants it at the beginning of the year, and Disney doesn't necessarily.
Disney will win.
I'm not so sure. I've got a strange feeling we might be seeing series 2 sooner rather than later because they've got that Sea Devil thing for the end of the year.
That's fair. Just normally Disney, you know, they're
powerful. They're powerful, aren't they?
Yeah, very.
But anyway, we will wait and see. Richard is agreeing with myself. There will be a third outing. What form it takes is up for question, as is who'll be in it. Let's start that one, shall we? And Chris Lawley is saying streaming as with Amazon doesn't matter of viewing figures, but BBC is still in an old world of broadcasting, failing to compete and to be honest with the viewing figures. Well, of course, that ties in with the license fee because they have to be accessible to the public because we pay for it, or a lot of people in Britain still pay for it. So therefore, the ratings are important because it shows how many of your customers are sitting down to watch the show on the night. And I'm still of the personal belief that not everybody uses the iPlayer, especially the certain generations that are currently being omitted by the BBC in favor of the new ones that they think will carry the license forward for them. That makes sense.
But they won't, though, will they?
No.
You know, the generations that the BBC are aiming, we've talked about this before as well, the generations that the BBC are aiming just about everything at are the ones that consume it on phones and tablets and have no intention whatsoever of paying a TV license. They just won't.
Yeah,
at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Divining Dragon is with us. They will use Wallace and Gromit as the lead into the show, hoping for some lead-ins. I am of that theory as well. I think it'll be Wallace and Gromit. Because now Top of the Pops has even gone. They're not doing any more Christmas specials at Top of the Pops. That's been axed. I'm not surprised, really, when you look at the state of the charts. Top of the Pops and the charts just don't get on these days, do they? There's no way you could actually do the same show anymore. It's such a sad state of affairs. But I reckon it'll be Wallace and Gromit, Doctor Who, and then they'll go into things like Strictly and all that sort of stuff for the evening, right up to Mrs. Brown's Boys, which is on again and has been renewed for several more. Can you believe it? What is Charlotte doing?
What is behind all that? There's something dodgy going on there. There has to be.
Because Mark Milford, our resident poet laureate here on Who's Views, is saying, does the BBC still have to commission the next series before anything can happen? Apparently so. To an extent. The BBC can order 8 episodes of anything from any production company, and then it's up to the production company to say yes or no. When you've got something like this, remember the BBC Studios own Doctor Who now in partnership with Bad Wolf. I would say the BBC Studios will want to make money from it. The question is, are they? I don't know. Why don't they just let it go? It's in its death throes. That's the question I'm putting out there. Why don't they just let it go? There's too many egos in it, for one thing. That's why. But I think they need to wake up. What do you think, Who viewers? I think they need to wake up and just let it go.
It's that much-loved animal that's riddled with disease, and you would do the humane thing and you would put it down.
Yeah.
And just remember the good times. But they just seem to want to keep it on life support, but it's just it's a shell of what it was. It's less than even a shell, isn't it? It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. Yeah. I mean, we've said this before. I think the majority of Doctor Who fans are embarrassed by this nonsense. Yeah, I think, let it go. Just let it go. And the talents of Wing Triang is saying, I agree, they'll sandwich it in between Wallace and Gromit and Strictly and hope people don't switch channels. Wallace and Gromit, I think, will be huge because they haven't alienated their audiences. They can come back every 20 years if they wanted to, and there will be still fondness for the show. With Doctor Who, not the same in the UK. It has outlived its welcome. It's unloved. It's not looked at properly anymore, Ian. People don't take it seriously anymore.
Remember in the 70s, though, where Saturday evenings just segued one thing into another. Your sports results to local news, to Basil Brush, to Doctor Who, to Jim will fix it, but then to Generation Game, and it just kept going. And ITV didn't get a look in. They didn't have to plan it. It just happened for a decade. It just happened.
Yeah.
And now that they're all on to try and engineer it just for a Christmas day for what happened on a Saturday evening in the 1970s constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said before, we were so lucky to have the television we had, the times that we had, even though there were troubles. We have good quality entertainment around. Dave Harding is saying, yeah, I agree, JT. I've never had time on Christmas Day to watch television, let alone Doctor Who. Then again, since I no longer watch the new episodes, that's no longer even a potential problem for me. Paul Richards is saying to us, I'll be watching the season 25 box set and Blake 7 this Christmas. Yes, not long to go. Isn't it tomorrow that Blake 7 comes out? It's very soon now. I've lost count of the days and everything. The Blake 7 Series 1 box set. And yeah, we are going to be starting reviews of Blake 7 here on the channel. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you look out for them if you're a Blake 7 fan, because we're going to be talking about them. I'm really looking forward to talking about Blake 7. Oh, before we get to after talking about Joy to the World, and then there's going to be a Blake 7, and then the new series whenever that goes on. I think it'd be a breath of fresh air to talk about something else, I think.
Right.
Andy Final, nice to see you, mate. If season 3 goes ahead, does that mean a regeneration? Maybe RTD wants another Tennant series. I don't think so somehow. And Tennant, of course, is not as popular as he was. We're going to be talking about that in just a few seconds.
Or as he thinks.
And the people around him seem to think as well. Komodo is with us. Nice to see you. I'm not going to read that out because you're very naughty. Naughty. And Sir Clive Calculator is with us as well. I'm sure someone at the BBC is working on deepfake Morecambe and Wise. Oh my God, I hope not. I really hope not.
Can you imagine that they would just do that, and it would be Morecambe and Wise, but they'd be saying politically correct rubbish.
Why would they want to do that?
Fit them, would it?
Why would they do that?
Because there's comedians around, is there? The comedians today, they're just not funny, are they?
Well, they're not funny. They think they are, but they're not. They're very few and far between because they don't understand comedy. But you can just go and watch an original Morecambe and Wise Christmas special. It's going to be on one of the repeat channels.
You're still going to laugh, aren't you? You're still going to laugh.
I'm sure they're going to come out with some fantastic stuff on the repeat channels, because when you look at our history when it comes to comedy, we've got everybody. We've got Dick Emery, we've got Morecambe and Wise, we've got Little and Large, we've got the Vicar of Dibley. Yeah, everybody. Sooty even had Christmas specials back in the day. They could repeat all this sort of stuff. Victoria Wood had about 5. You know, there's some great stuff they could put on, and I reckon they'd get more viewers watching that stuff than the
certainly would.
Stuff.
They certainly
Chris
would.
Lawley is saying to us, Christmas after Wallace and Gromit, people will be busy putting the kettle on and raiding the fridge before Strictly rather than watch Doctor Who. I totally agree. Or if it's on at that certain time, because some families, of course, end up having their Christmas lunch at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because of all the, whatever the mornings can be busy.
If some people are working, they might be home by then, and they'll save Christmas dinner until they get home.
Exactly, because it's a lovely family thing. And I'm going to say it because I'm going to say it simply because it's not popular. Some people still go to church on Christmas Day in the morning, and they can be there from 9:30 onwards to 12:30, and then come home and do the dinner, the lunch. This is what people forget now, because we're not supposed to talk about Christmas being a Christian festival, are we?
What would it say? What would it say though if the ratings were Wallace and Gromit, Doctor Who, Strictly? What would that say?
Well, we'll be talking about it, won't we? We'll be interested in the overnights, and we will be talking about them here on the channel. So
Speak volumes, though, I think.
Absolutely.
If that happened, I don't think Doctor Who would see Christmas Day again ever. If it continued, I don't think it would see Doctor Who. I don't think it would see Christmas Day again.
Well, I'm trying to find out if, as part of the recordings of season 2, they actually recorded a Christmas special for 2025. Now, somebody I know said they didn't. It was just the 8-episode series they filmed because of the budget that they were given as well, also being allocated to the Sea Devil thing, which is a 5-episode thing. So maybe if that's true, if that is true, then it looks like any Christmas special for 2025 should be recorded as part of a block for Series 3. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just if it's true. That's what I was told. But you know what these things are like, everybody. But it's food for thought. That's all we're saying. It's food for thought here. So there we go. Let's have a look at James Thummuck. Nice to see you again, mate. What are you saying to us? I think it comes in trends. There was an influx of political correctness in the early 2010s, and hopefully the pendulum swings the other way sooner rather than later. As somebody that was in business in the 2010s, mate, you're absolutely right. And we did get this because I remember sitting at various meetings in various businesses that will remain nameless in senior management meetings. And people at the time being concerned with some of the stuff. And as other people say, we've got to do this. This is where it all started. And it's been built on and built on and built on. So it's now got out of control. And even in the 90s, people were saying to me, we've got to be careful. PC can go crazy here. And it has. It's gone completely and utterly crazy. And all these extreme left-wing ideological liberals have just gone crazy, haven't they? Let's face it. They've gone absolutely insane, trying to make sure that inclusion and diversity is all there, and lost the plot on reality. They wouldn't know reality now if it came up.
People don't challenge them, do they? People don't challenge them for fear of what will happen to their careers.
Oh, they're terrified. Yeah, they're absolutely terrified because they will actually get at you, as I well know. They will get at you. Oh.
Did you see what diversity did for the New Zealand Navy this last week?
No, what happened there?
Yeah, they'd this New Zealand, I'm sure it was New Zealand naval vessel.
Yeah.
The captain, they're saying it's not because of the captain's gender, it's a woman, and you know, male female doesn't matter, but she was a very public, allegedly lesbian, so it was seen as a bit of a DEI posting that she got command of this vessel. Hit a reef, sank.
Oh,
first naval vessel to sink for New Zealand since World War II.
Oh,
everybody got off, thankfully. But yeah, there was these photos of this capsized vessel going down. You
see, I hope she wasn't put there just for DEI's sake. But I've said it before on the show. I have known of several businesses that have selected people for jobs simply to tick a box, and they have been spectacularly bad at the job. And a friend of mine actually had to do this. She found that somebody had been recruited because they tick boxes, very bad at the job, and then she got very stressed and hassled trying to find a way to sideline that person into a job that they had to create for her that they thought she could do, and then replace her in the original job. It turned out at the end of the day, after a year, they found out she couldn't do the job that they created a position for her to do either. So they ended up firing her. I mean, how ridiculous. Get the right people for the right jobs, for crying out loud. Never mind the tick boxing. John Steed, it's nice to see you. I remember trying to help save the show in the 80s. I didn't ever think I would be willing it to end now in 2024. I think we're all together on that one, aren't we, everybody? We really, really are. Yeah. Rick Storm is asking us on a sideline, where on earth are the character option Daleks and Davros in B&M? I can confirm that they have started to appear in various B&M stores this very weekend, Rick. All right. So you need to keep in touch with your local B&M stores there. Keep an eye out because they have started to appear in the shops now. I saw on various social media platforms people being very lucky this weekend finding them in the shops in B&M stores, mainly down south. But they're on the way. They're getting through. Nobody panic. They're getting there. So there we go. I'm looking forward to it. I went to 3 shops over the weekend in my neck of the woods and they weren't there. So they're on the way. We are on the way.
I didn't see any.
Yeah.
Revelation Daleks and Time Lords was all I saw.
Exactly. Great to see you all in the chat. It's lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got loads and loads of people.
It's going great, isn't it?
Yeah, Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's girls in there as well. Thank you so much. See you. Gosh, and you're all. There's so many good points from our audience, Ian. Look at all these fantastic points. But thank you so much. Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's girl is actually saying it's a wonderful life and white Christmas for us. Oh, absolutely.
Can't fault that.
You can't fault that at all. Chef's kiss, as Kirsty would say. That are just classic films. Absolutely. Absolutely classic films. Yeah, so brilliant. Blue Worm's with us as well. Hello, Blue Worm. Nice to see you. To think that Doctor Who, which I love, can now only make me sad and angry. That's where we're at, though, everybody, isn't it? It is sad days. It is sad days for that. But that's what happened with Gatwa this week. 1 minute. It's been reported, and some of the fans were getting excited, saying, "Oh, he's confirmed season 3." And the next minute, the fans are very upset because they've cut that bit out of the Norton show.
They'd get excited if he confirmed he'd changed his trousers, though, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Let's be honest. Their bar isn't set particularly high for their levels of satisfaction, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. It's the way it is now, isn't it? It's where we're at. It's where we're at. Listen, I just want to say a huge thank you because I know she's in the chat as well. And look, we're going to show a picture of an actual Who's viewer, Third Doctor Ian. And it's Julianne, because this week Julianne got in touch saying that she had just received a Who's Views t-shirt from our Who's Views shop. Now, I got in touch with her immediately to say, what's it like? Because I haven't seen them. It's done through one of these things that the Tube of Who recommend, right? One of these, as you've seen, if you've looked at our shop, which is available on the homepage on the tab that says shop. So anyway, it's there. So I said to her, what's it like? And stand by beds, everybody, because this is our very own Julianne. Woo! There she is.
Looks amazing.
She's taken the Touching Grass since 2023 t-shirt. And I'm delighted to say that she gave me a very full report. Thank you so much for that, mate, saying that it was good quality t-shirt. The stitching was all right, which was always a worry of mine, that the actual graphic on it doesn't look as if it's going to wash off after 1 or 2 washes, which was always a worry. But yeah, it looks okay. So thank you for sending that in, Julianne. Really appreciate it. And there she is, everybody. So round of applause for our very own Julianne. And I'm so glad you enjoyed your t-shirt.
It looks amazing.
It does. I mean, there she is again. Look at that. She does look amazing there, doesn't she? In that, and that's our Touching Grass since 2023 t-shirt there.
Loving the cheeky smile as well there. That's very Who's Views, isn't it? A bit of a cheeky smile.
But it was lovely to see you, and thank you for that report. I can sleep at night. I can sleep at night now, knowing it was okay, because I was worried, everybody. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, David's with us as well. What's David Mackay saying to us? Sent an email a couple of hours ago with a picture of the mugs I got. Great. Oh, thank you, David. Well, I haven't looked at my emails. I will be, and we'll get yours. Are you with them? Are you doing something like that? We'll be in touch. There we go. So thank you. So thank you for that, Julianne. Really appreciate it. You're getting a lot of feedback in there as well, with Marjorie saying great shirt. There she is, Julianne saying it's a great t-shirt, recommended. John wants to know, when will the underpants be available, JT? Now I know you're jesting, but I actually did look into that. As a joke, because we all know the story of the Doctor Who underpants, and I thought, oh, wouldn't Who's Views underpants be a funny thing? I actually looked into it, so you never know what might be coming up to you in 2025. Copyright. Hello to Dirty Hamble. Oh yes, you naughty. Touching Grass t-shirts. Yes, they're there for you. And Dave Mackay saying, no, they're just on my shelves with some Who below them. Oh, well, I'm glad. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad about that. I will look at the emails after the show, David. So thank you so much for purchasing them. It's really funny, actually, because we haven't got the mugs here yet for the team. We haven't got ours done yet. I've been so busy. Talking of busy. Talking of busy. Oh, look at this. Salty old gammon underpants. Yeah. Oh, the more that you talk about it, the more I'll do it. You know me. You know me. I did look into it.
Nothing in
Honestly.
the world can stop you now.
Would sound like RTD there, wouldn't we? Listen, the other person that's been busy over the last few months, of course, is my favorite actor, David Tennant. God. Yes, because do you know, have you heard he's got a new series coming out? Here it is here from the Radio Times. David Tennant was thrilled. Yes, he was thrilled to reunite with Doctor Who star on Rivals. It was heaven, so he said. From the Satan pit to the idyllic Rutshire countryside. Okay, now the reason I'm mentioning this is not to publicize his new show, because this is a show, Ian, that he's done, that he has taken a part in Rivals, which is a Jilly Cooper book, which I actually read on a very trashy holiday years ago and really enjoyed. Don't judge me. I enjoyed it. It was it's set in the 80s, and it's what happened in the 80s. It's about two rival television independent networks all going for a franchise, as happened in the 80s. Remember when they all had to bid for the franchises, and it was a war, wasn't it? So she's written a whole sort of story about this, and it's all about the two blokes that own the company not getting on, trying to outbid each other. It's about business. It's very Dynasty Dallas. There's lots of glamorous women in it. There's there are a few glamorous women in it, but it's all about, intrigue and naughtiness. It's all that sort of, it's typical Jilly Cooper. It was fabulous. I really enjoyed it. So here we go with this TV version of it, and Tennant's in it, and here he is.
Would he recognise what a woman is, though?
No, of course he wouldn't.
No, asking for a friend.
Yeah, no, asking for a friend. But here he is, and look who's producing it, everybody, and look who's screening it. It's Disney Plus. Not that I'm saying there's anything in it at all. Anyway, the story is, as we look at this now from radiotimes.com, here we go. The stellar cast sees David Tennant take the lead as one of the titular rivals, Lord Tony Baddingham, and also reunites with a fellow Doctor Who alum, Claire Rushbrook, who played Ida Scott in season 2 episodes The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit, will play Tennant's on-screen wife, Lady Monica Baddingham, in the up-and-coming drama. And this reminded me, we're reviewing The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit in a couple of weeks' time here on Who's Views Reviews as part of our Halloween season. There's the link, everybody. You see, this show isn't just thrown together, Golly gosh, no, not at all. The article does continue, however, with, he says, getting to the right Carole. Here we go. Tennant recently opened up about what it was like to work together again, saying it was heaven. He added, and to have that husband and wife relationship when she embodied Monica, there was no doubt of exactly who that woman was. She's just glorious. And she's also one of the loveliest, funniest people with the dirtiest sense of humor. I think possibly my favorite days on set were the Mr. and Mrs. Baddingham days. I'm surprised you weren't offended by a sort of...
Dirty sense of humor. Isn't that what John Barrowman used to have before he was cancelled?
The hypocrisy comes through all the time, doesn't it, really? Oh, all the time. He continues, however, as well as praising his former Doctor Who co-star, Tennant also complimented the sprawling cast, saying, I suppose it's quite unusual to have a core cast of 15 main parts, all played by brilliant actors, very unique, very specific, brilliantly cast, who just plugged into these characters. Everyone brought them to life in their own specific way, and they're a really fun bunch of people to hang out with, so it was uniquely joyous time. I bet it was.
Doesn't he look smug?
He does, yeah. His character is set to go up against the Conservative MP, Rupert Campbell-Black, we would have loved that, wouldn't he, Mr. Tennant, played by Alex Hassel, with the cutthroat world of the 1980s TV industry as a backdrop for their growing feud. They'll be joined by Poldark star Aidan Turner as a TV presenter caught in the crossfire, Declan O'Hara, whose daughter Taggy, Bella McLean, catches Rupert's eyes. There you go. Now, if you can't remember who this particular lady was who's playing it, yes, she was in the still. Here she is in the show. She was in the Satan Pit and the Impossible Planet, playing. Do you remember her now? This is her here. Great part. We're going to be coming more to that when we do our reviews. It was a great part with a great actress. She's a really good actor. She looks very different though, because of course they've 80'd her.
They have.
But they were talking about that. So
that was a very good scene that they shared when he was descending down into the pit and she was at the top, and they were having that conversation. It was really good, I thought.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll be saying this when we come to reviewing it. she's another example for me of one of those companions we should have had and didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you to Hugh Janus for your super chat. JT looking into underpants who are matron. It's a good job I've got a sense of humour, isn't it? Otherwise I get offended and have to cry. But yes, I am. Hugh Janus, come on. I can't believe it. I did. I looked into them and thought, would people buy them? Little teeny weeny things. You'd never get into them, but I just thought it would be some sort of like token thing in tribute to those famous Tom Baker ones. But thank you, Janus, for your super
Who's
chat.
Views underpants keyring, perhaps. Copyright, so nobody else,
Let's have a look at this. Paul Richards is saying David Tennant is all over the place. Aren't there other actors looking for work?
Emotionally, mentally, philosophically, he's all over the place.
The problem is that the industry still thinks he's popular and he can bring in the viewing figures. Now, here in the UK, he's not. He has alienated a lot of people. I've got no specific statistics, of course, but verbally attacking Kemi Badenoch as he did showed his true colours.
Yeah.
A lot of his nonsense, of course, from the TQ cult showed his true colours. And a lot of women are now not as keen on him as they were and are not fanboying about him. And he's so high and mighty in his millions and all this and whatever, being protected by show business, he won't realise. He'll just plod on thinking he's the best thing. Do you know what I mean?
I think the Badenoch comment made it very clear how much of a misogynist he actually is. And you don't have to scratch very much down under the surface to see it coming out either. But I thought that initial photo of him in that office, he looked a bit like Joseph Goebbels, I thought, to be quite honest.
Let's have a look at this. Let me just bring that back up again. I was reading what Captain Have Fun was saying there. I think he looks ill. Now, part of that, again, will be the makeup, because they've tried to make him look like people think bosses of TV look like in the 80s. They didn't really. The ones I was aware of in the 80s were slightly more pompous, richer, and fatter in the 80s. But, oh, that's all right. I think they're all dead. Yeah.
I think they are. Yeah.
They probably are. Paul is saying to us, Paul Rose, Tennant is starting to look ill lately. He's not gone vegetarian too, has he? It wouldn't surprise me.
He'd go full vegan. He wouldn't go vegetarian. That's too much of a halfway house for him, isn't it? He'd go full soy, definitely.
The big question now, though, is would he go on to the jungle celebrity thing and eat crickets? Would you do that? I don't know. God, Michael is saying it all. Oh God, help me! I know, and I'm actually quite. When I heard they were doing this, because I read that book on that trashy holiday all those years ago, I quite liked sitting on the beach where I was reading this trashy book. It made my holiday. It was nice, you know. It was just one of those lovely things you can throw away at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Just, I've read that now, and you forget about it. But when I heard they were going to film this, I thought, well, I'll watch that. I'll watch that. My issue now, Who viewers and Ian, is that basically I've got to get over the fact that they've cast him in it. And I've got to not see him anymore. And I have to be honest, for the first time in my life, I'm having issues doing that when I see various actors now, because I'm so aware that their politics are so opposite to mine and that they're supporting things that affect me as an individual and have destroyed my community. I can't get past that's David Tennant in this. Ugh. Do you know what I mean?
Quite. You see them as being actually your own opinion. You just see them as being a not very pleasant person anymore.
Yes.
You know, when Tennant was in the role the first time, because the second time was an absolute abortion, but when he was originally in it and was elevating the series to, you know, that golden age that it had in the late noughties, you'd see him in other things and you'd make a point of watching them. I remember he played I think it might have been a one-off, but he played a driving instructor in one thing that I watched and thought he was quite good in that. Yeah, and you just watch him in other things. Now, I remember watching him in Casanova beforehand because he'd been cast as the Doctor prior to
Yes.
starting in that, and he was in that, so you'd watch that. And I remember him he was in the big finishes as a unit officer, Babbacombe
Yes, of
Wood or
course. Yeah,
somebody like that.
he did backlash.
And
Yeah, yeah.
you know, but now I just think I'm not watching anything with that dickhead in it. I just
Yeah.
can't be doing it at all. Any of them really.
A lot of the people in the chat are agreeing with us as well. With a lot of saying, yeah. Rob Taylor is saying to us, though, you're obsessed with Tennant. My God. No, well, obsessed. I'm not obsessed with Tennant. As I say, I might watch this thing that he's in now and have to deal with the fact he's in there. But he has made a complete and utter tit of himself over the last year.
Oh, totally.
And that's what we're doing. This is Headlines on Who's Views. This is our political Sunday evening chat about things that are affecting the Doctor Who world. And by God, he has, in a detrimental way. He has. He's made a complete and utter fool of himself. And when he opens his big gob, we'll report it and discuss it here on the show. So I wouldn't call that an obsession. Maybe if he kept his mouth shut, we wouldn't be talking about him.
Just like he wanted Kemi Badenoch to.
Yes.
I just wish he'd shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is nice from Rose. Hey, you wonderful people in the chat and Who's Views. Big thank you. You made me feel so happy and wonderful. Oh, I'm pleased about that, Rose. I'm pleased about that. It's nice when everybody gets together on a Sunday evening, isn't it? And we all chat about loads of nonsense that they throw at us, quite frankly. We've got lots more coming up for you. Stephen Braddock is saying he's everywhere. He's got a quiz show starting on ITV next week. Oh, is it next week? We had that story lined up, but something more important came up. So we got rid of it. But yeah, I won't be watching that. He's doing a quiz show as well. Goodness me. Talons is saying to us, I've never liked Tennant. He was really overrated in my view. I think we're agreeing on that. It's going to be interesting. Come and join us all, everybody, in the next few weeks for our Hula Bean season. This week, we are looking at The Brain of Morbius here on the channel, Wednesday at 8. Next week, we're looking at a Peter Cushing Hammer horror film. And then the week after that, we're doing The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. I think all this stuff's going to come up, Third Doctor Ian, as well as the actual episodes. It's two parts. We're going to do 2 episodes over. But I think we're going to be looking at, was Tennant overrated? Was he good in those episodes? Because hindsight's a wonderful thing. I haven't seen those episodes since they were broadcast in, 2006? So come back and join us for those, everybody. And let's see, is Talon's right? Are we going to be judging him saying, actually, he's not that good? Or will we come back saying, actually, he's brilliant?
Oh, we'll find out. Was it that story as well that had was there an extended gap of a week between the first and second episodes of that story? Or was it straight after it or straight before it?
No, it was it was the Saturday and then the following Saturday. You had to wait for them. Is that what you mean?
Because it was Eurovision, wasn't there? Was there a week with a gap?
Oh, I can't remember.
In the middle of the series. I can't remember if it cut in the middle of that 2-parter or...
We'll have to look it up on the transmission dates. We'll get that. Yeah. We'll get that because we'll look at the transmission dates. A lot of you are all saying yes, that he was overrated, including Legion of James. He was overrated as the Doctor and his ego. He was unbelievably off-putting. Bit of a one-note actor. There you go. And Problem Bling is saying he's looking rough. For those of you listening to this, that's the polite thing he's just said. That's the edited version. Philip Roy is saying to us, I met Aidan Turner doing background on Poldark Season 1. I got introduced to him before doing a scene. He was a lovely bloke and always nipping out for a roll-up fag. Now, in America, by the way, that's a term for cigarette here in the United Kingdom. I just have to quickly put that out before somebody complains. Because for you, apparently, that's something different. Why haven't you reclaimed it then? Oh, don't get me started again. And Eastlyn, hello, Eastlyn. It's not even all political. He was fun, and now he is trying to look serious and important. The sexiness depended upon his being flippant and fun. Interesting point of view. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I never saw that at all, really, in him. But but I know what you're saying, Eastland. Thank you for your comment there. Thank you nice to see you, by the way. Nice to see you. Yes, we've got all that. Rick Storm is saying, doesn't he look tired? He really does, doesn't he? He does. And I'm not surprised. Really, what's going on there? So thank you, everybody, for that one. So that's that one.
It must be quite tiring having to be so virtuous all the time.
It must be, mustn't it, really? Yeah. And keeping up with the latest fad that your children bring home. But
makes you wonder when eventually the mask will slip. It always does. It always does.
I don't know. But, you know, for all these middle class, upper class, whatever you want to call them, that lot that are up there, and their pretentious knee-bending, virtue signaling nonsense, and this insistence, we must be inclusive and be trendy and be the, you sick lot. Leave the kids alone, for Christ's sake. Be adults, that's what I'd say. Tennant, however, is not the only one that's got something coming out soon, because there's another doctor that's out there on the streets of New York, to be quite honest, working away on a new film. And he's working with Austin Butler. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Matt Smith. Here he is. This is him on the set of his new film, which at the moment is called Caught Stealing. And yes, this was Matt Smith just this very week on the streets of New York, where he's filming this. I mentioned he was with Austin Butler, and that's the proof. There they are there on a break in recording. Great costume and hairdo for Matt.
He looks more like a doctor there than Gatwa does.
Here they are again. Obviously getting on.
Yeah.
Austin Butler, of course, you may know, he's had a great few years. He leapt to fame with his incredible performance as the King, Elvis Presley, in that incredible Baz Luhrmann film, Elvis. What a performance. Absolutely incredible performance. I've seen him in a couple of things since then as well. What a talent he is. This is something I will probably go and see him, because with Matt Smith's talent and Austin's talent, this is going to be a cracking performance to watch.
They can spark off each other. It'll be gold, won't it?
I think so. But there he is. So he's on the streets of New York this week. Matt Smith himself for this new film, Caught Stealing. There you go.
In the 80s, you could get postcards in London of this punk. And he was, I don't know what he was or who he was, a punk model, but he was called Matt Belgrano. Right. He looked just like that with, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the punks did, didn't they? I remember the punks from the day as well. I also been told by certain family members in and around Liverpool, don't go near them.
Yes.
I mean, come on. they seem to be all right. Komodo said it was Woody Woodpecker. I don't think that's the film. No. I don't think the general live action. No, I don't. But there we go. But yeah, it is, as Matthew Pounder is saying, it's different. Don't you know? We've got to go and see the film. We don't know what it's about there, but obviously he's playing some sort of punk in New York at the time. So brilliant. Well done. Hello to YW2324 is joining us, and to Sydney Rough Diamond saying that there's the 16th Doctor.
Just revisiting a few old favourites.
Oh God, that line. Goodness me. Yeah. So there we go. That was that. So that's Tennant with his new thing coming on here. That was just a blatant plug for me to be able to say, look, we're going to be looking at the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit in the next couple of weeks as part of Halloween. And I thought I'd tie it in with Matt Smith, who's working hard at the moment on his new film over in New York City with Austin Butler. I tell you what's not going to be announced anytime soon, as far as we're aware. Or will it be? The next Doctor Who Blu-ray set. Season 25 is, of course, on the way. It's out at some point this month. They keep moving it. So it's a busy month for science fiction fans, because we've got the Doctor Who Season 25 a limited edition set on Blu-ray coming out. And this week, we've also got Blake 7 Series 1 being released onto the shelves of the shops there. So good luck if you're getting both of those. Plenty to take you over well into the new year, really, of all those, isn't there? Goodness me.
Lots of material.
Exactly. But we are Doctor Who fans, and even us here on Whose Views are speculating as to what box set could be next. Well, cover designer and artist, yeah, we know which one you want, but cover designer and artist Lee Binding is not helping us, because he's done it again. Over the last few days, he took to his Twitter/X account with this. So keep it quiet, but these are the colours for the next unannounced Doctor Who collection set. But between you and me, what do you think it could be? Now, he did this for season 25, do you remember?
He did.
And he's now doing it again. So this is a zoom of some bizarre part of the front cover, like the last one was. So Yeah, there we go. We got hints of orange, red, yellow, green. It looks like a cocktail to me. I don't know about you lot.
The reds and oranges could be the flames of Inferno. The green could be the scales of Silurians. You know, the yellow could be like plasticky, autony, malarkey. Who knows?
Well, there's lots of speculation. Lots of people in the chat saying to us season 7 like you are. Yes. David Harding also saying it could be Pompous. Oh, you're all saying it. You're saying it. Stephen Braddock screams it. However,
it's a colour palette that would fit season 7.
Well, David Harding is saying season 13. Komodo is saying season 13. TARDIS Travels is saying season 13. Yeah, there's lots of speculation there. Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's girl's desperate like you are in season 7. And
so
Domgo is saying
Mrs. Lisa Pertwee.
Domgo saying that's Inferno. It's season 7, definitely. Legion of James is saying John's first or final season, just wanted to get it out because it's years until standard release, isn't it? Just come on, BBC Studios, take our money, get the blooming thing out there. Come on, get your standards out, if you'll pardon the expression, madam. Years. And Boomer Doug feels very Pertwee, says Boomer Doug. JT, it's series 7, says Michael. Season 7, says Marjorie. Philip is saying to us, my money's on an early Pertwee. Last season, Pertwee would be blue to match the crystal.
That's true. That's very true.
John is saying season 4. He's going for it out there, isn't he? Season 4. And Tyler Durden Smile is saying, I'm colorblind, so I've got no chance. Komodo is saying, though, look, it could be Tom and a Zygon. Yeah.
Couldn't be season 4 though, because it's not black and white.
Oh, no. Well, there we go. And what else? David Harding is saying to us here, it's fun to speculate, but ultimately I just want more classic era Blu-ray sets, and I'm not fussy about which ones we get so long as we get them all eventually. Well, we're going to get the majority of them eventually, aren't we? Let's face it, we are going to get them. I reckon, however, David, and this is just me being me, I reckon they're going to end, and I don't mean now. I think they're going to take out as much as they possibly can. They're going to release all of the color stuff. We're halfway there. You're over them actually with the collectors and limited editions. You're over halfway now. I don't know. I think there's possibly one other black and white they can do, and I think that's going to be it personally.
Yeah,
because there's so much going on technological wise with this AI and stuff like that. I just think they might wait a little bit until they've got the investment. Do you know what I'm saying? To do it properly rather than all this animation nonsense. But then again, we know the BBC, they could release it with all the animation nonsense in the box sets and then bring it out again. And we'd all buy it.
Yeah. And they know that, don't they?
Yeah. They really do. They really, really do. Talons is also saying it could be the key to time. That's a season I want as well. But yes, so keep up with us here. Obviously, here on Who's Views, we're going to be looking at that as soon as we know which one it is. We'll be back with the Merchandise Paradise live show to discuss it. Personally, I think most of us on the panel, on the Whotastic panel here at Who's Views, we are really wanting season 7. To be honest, I was saying to the guys just the other night, season 7 would be possibly one I would buy the limited edition set for just to see it there and then flog it later on to get the collector's edition. But BBC Studios, come on, get the standard editions out, please. We are so behind now. Take the money. We want to buy them. You could have had a fantastic Christmas releasing 2 or 3 this Christmas. What with Blake 7 and your limited editions? Why aren't you thinking like a business? Heaven's sake. Listen, get in touch with me. who'sviewsworld@gmail.com. Let's talk. I'll sort you all out, for crying out loud. For a decent
pay. Oh,
God, I would sort it out, honestly. Yeah. And I'd sort him out as well. Showrunner. I'd say, mind your own business. Bugger off. We're the commercial aim.
Needs doing, definitely.
Off on a tangent again, everybody. Talking about being off on a tangent, what the hell is going on with Doctor Who magazine? Seamless link.
Very good.
Thank you very much. Yes, so yeah, I went to Jack, who's during Jack's in there during Jack Rabbit. Yeah, I'm not. You know, I do know there are some sensible people around of your generation, but I do get to see all the
Definitely.
nonsense. And I get to see that. But you and Kirsty are examples of that, and Emilio as well on our channel.
Yes.
We know there's some of you, so I'm not branding you all, just some of you. Anyway, Jack should be with us, by the way, for Brain and Morbius this week. Hope you've watched it, Sunshine. Oh, yes. Can't wait to hear what he thinks about it. Anyway, yeah, what's going on with Doctor Who magazine? Now, Doctor Who magazine was released on Thursday. And yeah, now you all know if you watch this, I would usually trot down to my local Tesco to sit in the cafe and read the thing and see if there was anything worth reporting. And usually there is something. However, this month it comes in a plastic baggy thing, doesn't it? Like this. Because you get this with it this month. You're getting a free novelization of Evil of the Daleks, the paperback of the Fraser Hines written book, which was released in hardback last year. Okay, so it was in a bag this year, so I couldn't look at it. But thank you to Bedouia, our very own Bedouia, who sent me some stills because he got it, and he sent me some stills of this. So thank you to Bedouia. So in Doctor Who magazine, oh gosh. You know, if you're buying this, God love you. If you're still getting this magazine, God love you, because there's
You're a
hardly
diminishing number, though, aren't you?
and I only wonder why. Let's have a look at this 2-page spread on this, right? Okay, so there it was. Or was it more than that? Redweir just sent me a couple of pages with some updated casting news, which I'm not even going to bother going through because we'll deal with it at another time. So there we are. There, what that's about, whatever. And then he sent me something else. And this really cemented this whole thing of why. Now, from my point of view, the magazine has gone off the boil years ago, and more recently as well, because it has become part of the whole TQ agenda, hasn't it? You know, they even did some alleged Pride edition with Yasmin Finney on the cover last year or whenever it was, and all this sort of stuff. And they've gone on about this, and in some of the articles they're talking about all that fantasy that they love, the pronouns, non-binary, all the nonsense, all the fantasy, all the utter nonsense. And recently they've taken somebody else on as well as an alleged journalist who I've got no time for, I'm going to be honest. And to fill a couple of pages in the magazine that she's just been employed by, she got another person I can't be bothered with as well. Look at this. Who and me? Beth Axford chats to Who influencer, ha ha ha, Crystal Meth, about her love of Doctor Who. I mean, come on, Doctor Who magazine. I can hear the barrel being scraped badly. What are you doing? Is this, and why does she always pose like that? Why has she always got her head left and her hand on her hip or a hand down to her knee? What is going on? These people are just ridiculous. And I mean, that's the audience they want. They want these two in the audience. And that's why they're not particularly liked in Doctor Who circles. I can assure you of that. You know, they're used all the time, aren't they? Because that's the youth they want. They're the people they want. They're the pronoun using audience they want. So she's been hired to do a job. And so she immediately gets onto her pal, her friend, and says, can I have an interview with you? Ka-ching. Doctor Who magazine. Get your act together. Do yourselves a favor. Have you seen that, Ian?
It's embarrassing. I mean, one of the reasons I stopped getting, I mean, I got Doctor Who from magazine from Doctor Who Weekly episode 1, and I stopped around issue 500 or so. I got the signed Tom Baker thing, and but that was around the same time that they announced Jodie Whittaker, but it was already becoming a crystal meth controlled and centric rag anyway, and I was getting quite irritated with it, and I cannot stand her at all. I just don't know why she exists at all, and I don't mean that in a Tennant sense, you know, but I just don't understand what it is that makes her so desired by these magazines to put her in all the time.
Yeah.
Just nothing. I don't see any redeeming features whatsoever. I think she's niche. Probably people in her niche don't like her. I certainly don't like her,
Well,
and
the two
I
of them
never
didn't
got the
make
magazine
themselves.
again.
Sorry, the two of them didn't make themselves popular at Doctor Who conventions. I can tell you that from people I know that were in the green rooms. It's come from there.
Right.
But it is because they obviously tick some sort of box. I mean, Doctor Who influencer. Who the hell do they think they are?
Who's
You
she
know,
influencing? Who's she
and
influencing? She only
what
speaks
are
to
they
her
influencing
type
them with?
anyway.
What
Yeah.
are they influencing them with? What messages are they giving people? I can't stand this modern thing of being an influencer, which has corrupted so many young people who I hear them say, I want to be an influencer and aren't prepared to. How can you bloody well influence anybody at the age of 21 or below? You haven't lived. You have not lived. You cannot influence it. To influence people properly and correctly, you need to be at least 60 or 70 years old because you've got life experience. You've seen things come and go. You've had ups and downs. You know about things that you can pass on. So we've always had influencers. We just didn't wear a bloody badge about it.
They want to
And
be
when you,
influencers because they want the freebies, really, that they
yes,
think comes with it.
yes,
That's
yeah.
all it is. But
It's about the
it's
showbiz
pointless.
etiquette.
Yeah, it's pointless saying you're an influencer when you can't really toilet yourself, when you haven't got that much life experience that you can't even do that.
Yeah.
And this is what people like that are like. It's pathetic. They're only influencing other sad pathetics like them. Really.
And yet they're not, and yet they won't be influencing them at all because they all think the same because they're in an
Yeah.
echo chamber,
Yeah.
and we know what echo chamber they're in. They're all
Mm.
misguided nonsense. I mean, I just couldn't believe it when this was sent to me by Blu-ray. I was like, what the hell is this? And she got paid to do this. She basically phoned up her pal and said, I'm going to interview to fill in a couple of pages of Doctor Who magazine. I remember when Doctor Who magazine was a good publication that reported on Doctor Who. It is so desperate today to find good Doctor Who content that the production office will sanction. And because it can't do the debates we had back in Doctor Who magazine in the day, because that won't be sanctioned, they are so desperate, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel and saying to somebody, right, yes, you can put that into the magazine. What is this current editor, whatever his name, doing? The flamboyant one. What are you doing? What are you doing? They're all missing the point. They're all desperately trying to find this audience, which doesn't exist. It's a minority. Get it into your little shill brains. It's a minority. You are losing customers. You are losing profit. Get a grip of yourselves. Blue M saying to Ethereum, look at this. I miss the wilderness years, says Blue.
Yeah. There was so much creativity in the wilderness years. There really was. Doctor Who magazine on paper should have died then, but it didn't. And I loved it when the new adventures were coming out and the magazine would do preludes to them and everything. They were fantastic. The comic strips were really inventive and creative.
Yeah.
And now I don't know. It's just whoever the editor is now is taking it in the same way that Davis is taking the TV program to ultimate cancellation, where it will never ever come back.
They're all part of the echo chamber.
Yeah.
All of them. They're all part of this. Oh, we've got to be seen to be doing the right thing. They're not going to argue with somebody like RTD. He's too powerful. He could close them down.
Yeah. Well, would we be sorry if he did?
No. Well, no. But it'd be interesting to see how long. Like the series itself, it's going to be interesting to see how much longer Doctor Who magazine has got with Panini. They can't be making money on this thing. I counted how many of this magazine was in my local Tesco. Now, considering that there was a free gift in it as well, there was still 4 copies of the magazine because they reduced it back down to 4. When the magazine relaunched with the diamond logo and the Tennant cover, everybody wanted it. We had distribution problems, blah, blah, blah. They're not getting those problems anymore. My local Tesco, which is the only place, actually no, WH Smith's where I live stocks it as well, but they only take about 5 or 6. So there's 2 places. They were getting, I think it was about, was it 15 I said on the show? I can't remember. 10 or 15 they were getting. They're now back down to 4. They're getting back down to 4.
You don't see it in the wrong rounders anymore. You used to see a couple in the local Tesco's on the outskirts of York, but you'll be lucky if you see one now.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of lots of love and affection coming out for these two in the chat. I think we're all on the same page. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, they're so up themselves, isn't it? And Blue Worm is saying, what is this super fat bull BS going around nowadays? Now, we did, in effect, here in the UK, have the super fan thing going on in the 90s with these people who thought they were something. No disrespect to any of them, but nobody took any notice of them. They were never covered in Doctor Who Monthly. They were never given the paid gigs necessarily. Some of them have gone on to do that, exactly that, and it has become a clique again. You know, and I would always say it's the Southeast clique as well. If you're not in the Southeast clique, you don't get anywhere with them anyway.
Yeah.
But why would you get on with? Why would any sane person want to be part of that when all they preach, as problem being here, self-appointed narcissist? Nibbles is saying she influences me to turn off. I mean, they don't influence anybody. I mean, it's just, yeah. Advertising has become truly corrupted. Why are these people, says Julianne, even relevant? They're not. They're not. They think they are in their own world. Oh, I've managed to get myself editing a book, says somebody. Big bloody deal. It's not selling. Your last book ended up in a bargain bookshop for $1.99, love. You know, these people, they just drive me insane. Legion of James, influence, you mean indoctrinated?
Yeah.
And Dalek I saying to us, I cannot stand these people, her and those idiots on the Doctor Who official podcast show cringe, cringe, and more cringe. But they're all hired because they won't say anything against the dictate. You have to toe the line or you get nowhere. That's why they're all doing it. Panini, Bog Fanish, anything else. They're towing the line. They're doing what they're being told to do because they don't want to lose their businesses. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It really is.
That's my opinion, by the way, people. I can't prove it, but that's my opinion. That's how it looks like to
me.
me.
Doctor Who magazine, even when it was going by the old name of Monthly, in the very early days of Monthly, did some fantastic features that were really something else. They were next level. I think the Monthly had only been going for a few issues. Do you remember an article called Architects of Fear?
Oh gosh, yeah.
That was just off the scale.
Yeah.
Wonderful article.
Series. Yeah.
Wonderful article in a bloody kids magazine, effectively. Yeah. You know, Doctor Who Monthly. You know, we'd only got 30 odd issues into the weekly before it went monthly, hadn't we? And or thereabouts. And then you're only a few issues in to the monthly, and then you got articles like that.
Because they never preached down to the children reading it, because they also knew that some of the audience for Doctor Who was adults. Yeah. And it had to have that balance. I remember as kids as well, you know, as a kid, if there wasn't an article I didn't like, I wouldn't read it. I'd just go and read the comic strip, which means that you've got something to go back on eventually. I've never read this one before. Have a look at it. Now it's more juvenile than ever.
Yeah.
They've really, like the series, they've really watered it down for this mythological audience, which is so small and which these two are part of.
Yeah.
Because they're listening too much to these young people who say, young people want this, young people want this. No, they don't. Your set do. Your clique do. The general, kids on council estates don't think like you lot do because they're too busy scraping by. Some of them are working at 15 still, getting a job and being real because they have to be. They're not going into your lot there, you know, and hanging around Islington. No, they're not doing that at all. It's just, it really annoys me. So out of touch. These people are out of touch. Richard is saying to us, my parents would read Doctor Who magazine back in the day before New Who and enjoy it, but now it's dead. Really, really like the TV show. And Chris Khaled is saying the production office only sanctions woke crap. I'm not going to argue with you on that one. I'm not going to.
Sad, isn't it? Because I mean, Doctor Who had always been from the mid '60s. Doctor Who had always had a presence in a comic magazine somewhere, and then Doctor Who Weekly came along and sort of like took it over there. So it's been running and running in one form or another for decades, but I don't think it's got much left in it. Yeah, I think they're going to kill it stone dead to the point where there will be no interest. There'll be no interest in bringing anything back.
No.
Again, like the TV series.
Yeah. A lot of you telling us as well that you don't get it anymore. I don't get it anymore. John was saying to us 500 was my last issue. And Chris saying to us, Chris Carlett again, the Wilderness Years was so much more fun. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot coming up for you on that one. But listen, Barry Stroud is saying my ignorance is bliss. Careful. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. Be careful on some of the ignorance. So if you mean ignorance to the Doctor Who magazine, it probably is. But there are certain issues that we do need to be aware of that are affecting Doctor Who, and that's one of them. The fact it's been ripped to shreds in front of us on all aspects. Even the merchandise, Barry, is absolutely shockingly bad. Lazy, poor nonsense. And Tom Spilsbury was the mag's best editor. Sadly missed, says Dirty Hamble. Clayton was fantastic in my eyes. Mr. Hickman, he was a good one. Tom was there for quite a while. Not my favorite. I still love John Freeman, Des Skin, the original editors, of course. Alan was also a very good editor.
Jeremy Bentham did a long stretch, didn't he?
Jeremy was good. Yeah, so I think there have been better, in my opinion, Dirty Hamble, but thank you for that. It will be a turning point when Doctor Who magazine shuts down, says Richard. I don't know how they're managing to keep the license going when it's not selling as much as it did.
Do you reckon they're being funded, perhaps?
I don't know. It's very difficult to get the sales figures from now. It's behind a paywall, as it were. You have to pay for the information, which I refuse to do. I just think, how much do you want? No, what? Because it's not there, so it's not in the public domain. What's the price now? Well, I think it was. How much is it normally? I think it's around about. This was $11.99, I think, because it had a book in it. But I think it's around. I think it's $7.99 per month. Raymond, $7.99 per month. I think.
First one was 30p, wasn't it? First Doctor Who monthly, 30p. It
was 30p for that, and it was 12 pence for the weekly.
Yeah.
And the weekly and the monthly. Far better. I mean, as I say, what's missing now is the good discussions we had. One of the most famous discussions from Doctor Who magazine was what would happen if it came back. And it featured people like Russell T Davies, Gareth Roberts, Stephen Moffat, Mark Gatiss. It was all there. I mean, I remember as well the original plan that Moffat had put me off his idea of Doctor Who forever. But anyway, we won't go into that now. But anyway, yeah, so
Richard Griffiths was going to be the Doctor at one point, wasn't he? In one of those.
Apparently, yeah. Well, that was. I think that came from John himself, from Nathan Turner, who said that somebody like Richard Griffiths could be a very good Doctor. Gary Gillett, of course, says Dirty Hamble.
Yeah,
Gary Gillett, and he was a nice guy. I haven't seen him for years and years and years, but he was a lovely guy. I don't know if we get on these days, but yeah, he was a good guy. Kev is with us as well.
He was editing it during the TV movie time, wasn't he? Gary?
He was, yeah. Nice to see you. Kev Gresham was saying the Doctor Who magazine used to be talk about the storylines and how they had narrative with the content. When you compare what it is today to what it was through those years when there wasn't even a television show to report on, what a weak nonsense piece of propaganda it is today. That's all it is. It's a piece of propaganda. Everything's fine. Oh, it's wonderful. It's marvelous. It's brilliant. You can actually hear the voice, can't you?
Yeah.
Can't you? Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, goodness me. It's great to see you all, by the way. Thank you so much. We are running over our usual scheduled time here, but the conversation's there, so who cares?
Yeah.
We've got a lot more to come up. You're watching Who's Views. This is Headlines. It's Sunday, the 13th of October, 2024. Here we go with the next story. Making Doctor Who news this very weekend, last weekend, was this particular lady, Carole Ann Ford, Susan Foreman herself from all those years ago, the Doctor's granddaughter. Yes, indeed. That in itself opens up a can of worms these days when it shouldn't do, because we had 26 years of it not mattering and a little bit after that now. But now, of course, that opens all sorts of things. What would happen if she met the woman one? How would it be granddaughter? Would she still call him? It's just utter nonsense where Doctor Who is these days. However, Carole Ann Ford was at a convention recently because, yes, she's still out there doing conventions. And I have to say, I've met her on a couple of occasions. I had breakfast with her once at one of the Panopticons, and she was lovely. I had the privilege of eating my breakfast one morning at the hotel I was staying in London, right, for one of the Panopticons. And this very sweet voice said, "May we join you?" And I looked up, and it was Verity Lambert and Carole Ann Ford, and they sat at the table with me, and I had a superb 45 minutes, whatever it was. It was absolute delight and a pleasure, and I will take that to my grave as one of my fondest memories of Doctor Who. These two were just on the ball. It was early in the morning, and these two were on the ball already. What a relationship they had! It was just amazing.
I bet that was wonderful.
I was thrilled and playing it cool.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, it's lovely to see you. Have a seat. Muesli, don't spill the muesli, don't spill. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. I was thrilled. But Carole Ann Ford was at a convention recently. And of course, the question comes up, doesn't it? Would you go back? Would you go up? And of course, that makes it into the Doctor Who headlines for us. As reported again by the radiotimes.com, Doctor Who legend optimistic about the return after 60 years. Hopefully, it's going to be a yes. The actor remains enthusiastic yet emotional about the prospect. Now, if you've been watching these shows long enough, you'll know that I'm one of these fans that doesn't necessarily want to see people from the past coming back, because I'm worried about how it's always going to be interpreted by the current production team. And the current production team, I think, would mess it up, as they have done with the 2023 Festive and what they did with this 2024 season. But that's just my opinion. The story goes like this, Ian and Who viewers. Original Doctor Who star Carole Ann Ford has reiterated her hope of returning to the sci-fi drama as the 60th anniversary of her final appearance nears. Ford played the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan Foreman, for a year at the beginning of the show's historic run, before her character was written out in the Dalek Invasion of Earth story broadcast on Boxing Day 1964. The Doctor promised Susan that he would come back for her, but as of October 2024, that day has yet to come. At this point, Ford told crowds at the Luton Comic Con that reprising the role would be very emotional. The Doctor promised Susan that he would come back for her. I don't know if I could survive the excitement, actually, she said. It would be intense beyond all intensity, she said. It's not just returning. It would bring back all the memories of William Russell and Jackie and Bill, William Hartnell, and various other people who aren't with us anymore. I might be a little bit overcome and start blubbing. Ford continues, I keep being reminded I'm the last one standing, and it's not something I'm happy to hear. Of course you're not. The character of Susan was recently referenced in 2 episodes of Doctor Who Season 14, or as they all call it, Series 1 for 2024, in The Devil's Board, and again in The Legend of Ruby Sunday. For a time, it was thought that the mysteriously reappearing Susan Triad, played by Susan Twist, could be a regenerated version of the character, but she instead proved to be an agent of Sutekh. Discussing the challenge of reintroducing her character after such a long absence, Ford explained, he said he'd come back and get me and never did. I'd give him a good telling off if I saw him again. And like all good actors, Carole Ann Ford says, I understand their dilemma, how difficult it must be to write for me. It's been 60 years since I was first in it. I've met Russell a few times and I absolutely adore him. He's the man that would be the boss man to say yes or no. So hopefully it's going to be a yes. She also then went on to say she's got the story in her head, which I think is wonderful, because all actors actually can say, oh, this is how you can bring me back. They all do that. They all do that because it's paycheck at the end of the day as well. Ian, what's your take on Susan Foreman with Carole Ann Ford returning to Doctor Who?
I don't want it to happen. And this he never came back for me, so I'd tell him off. She saw him in the 5 Doctors and didn't say a word then, so really that doesn't work.
Yeah,
but
and she tripped, didn't she?
Yeah, on a bush. They would balls it up monumentally. They would balls it up. They balls everything up. She would come back with an agenda. She would come back, and there would be a reference to the Doctor having been female. So they'll just try and legitimize that more. It would be a return of a character just to try, in the same way as sadly bringing back Ian Chesterton at the end of Whittaker's horrific tenure.
Oh, you've told me about that, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd just be there to legitimize Dross, and Susan should be left in 22nd century London, living out her life happily with, I'd say, with David, but unfortunately one of the books killed him off. But there we go. But yeah, don't bring her back. No, just spoil it. It's spoiled. She might think it would be nice, but no. No, not for me.
I mean, no offense to Carole Ann, but I think that's exactly it. I think, I mean, I've said it before. These actors don't watch the show and where it is now.
No.
You know, they might support it and they might be all in favor of it. They're going to be, because they could be employed again, as has worked out for some of them. You mentioned that Jodie Whittaker episode, which had several doctors and several companions in it, as far as I'm concerned, because they were celebrating 100 years of the BBC. So in a sense, it was the right thing to do, because Doctor Who played an important part of those initial early years, 26 years of it. But it means that they're out of touch with what's going on and how unpopular the show is. And I'm with you. I wouldn't want to see it coming back. Or any of these
Ruin the legacy completely.
Yeah, it would. It absolutely would. Chris Carlett, I hope they just leave Susan Foreman alone, not with these current producers.
But we don't need any knowledge of the original Doctor Who, do we? Because this was series 1 of something new that wouldn't back reference anything from the classic series. Oh, it's Sutek. You know.
Oh, and Susan's been mentioned all through the series as a blatant red herring. So the audience is supposed to know who Susan is. I mean, he had to explain Susan's my granddaughter. Can of worms. You've just been a woman. You know, I mean, how does it work? I mean, it was never proven Susan was a Time Lord. I believe something's come out recently that suggests that she was a Time Lord from Gallifrey somewhere along the line in the series.
On one of the latter Capaldis, there was a flashback to the Doctor first stealing the TARDIS, and he was with Susan, wasn't he? So I think that sort of like cemented that when it started Gallifrey a very long time ago, and it was the Doctor stealing the TARDIS, and I think that was the Doctor with Susan. So I think that's pretty much confirmed that she was.
Well, no, she didn't. That I think it's more recent. I think it was in the Gatwa one, because I remember mentioning it on the show, because that doesn't actually suggest. I mean, she was a Gallifreyan and she was living in the Citadel. It doesn't mean she's a Time Lord. Because we had Gallifreyans live. Look at Arc of Infinity for one, where they're all having a coffee in the local Gallifreyan coffee shop. You know, watching the Doctor going off into his doom, and they're all like, "Oh, lovely, another cappuccino, please." You know, it's all there.
What did they call them? They called them the Shaboogans, didn't they?
The Shaboogans are outside the Citadel. That's where Leela ends up with Invasion of Time. But this is what the new faction of fans don't understand everywhere as well, and it hasn't been reiterated because they've forgotten. You know, not all Gallifreyans are Time Lords. You've got the Gallifreyans, and you have to go to the academy and pass the academy to become a Time Lord. Isn't it? Yes, it's a hierarchy. The Time Lords are well up there. The Gallifreyans are down here. It's a system Robert Holmes brought in. So it's never been proven that Susan had a regenerative capability. That's what I'm trying to get to. And would they turn her into a man now?
Don't you think? It'd be better if she didn't. It'd be better if she didn't.
No, but if we brought Carole Ann Ford back, it would actually prove that she didn't, because Susan would have had to regenerate at some point, possibly, you know, because human life, which she chose to take, isn't that easy, is it? And let's face it, after a Dalek invasion, there's going to be disease, there's going to be hunger, there's going to be also... Anyway, we're going into fan territory again here. Let's see what he's saying in the chat here as well. Raymond Williams had RTT wanted to hire Caroline, he would have done it for the so-called 60th anniversary. It never ever crossed his mind. Hopefully not. He only wanted Tennant and Tate because he's a narcissistic twit. But what I said at the time about those things, Raymond, if you remember, about those 3 awful things they fed out in 2023, is again, it wasn't celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who. It was celebrating their own version of Doctor Who, which has been going since 2005, just like Day of the Doctor did. It was nothing to do with 26 years of superior time-traveling stories. It was to do with their Doctor Who, their version. That's what they were celebrating. And so I would agree with you, narcissistic twit. Richard, Russell would make Susan gender-free or something cringe or vile. Leave the wonderful past and the characters alone. Here, I say. Yeah. And Robert Calvert, they keep referencing Susan for a reason, and there must be a payoff. I'd be very surprised if Carole Ann Ford hasn't already filmed her return for season 2.
There's a lot of things that have been left up in the air without a payoff in this new Who. An awful lot.
Yeah. And they don't care about the payoff. They don't care. No. I mean, if you look at all the plot holes through those 8 episodes, it was a red herring. That's all it was. It was just a case of, and also because it was part of RTD's actual deliberate decision to make the Doctor more human. And he's not a human.
No.
Oh, he's got a family. blub over that? Are we suddenly becoming more aware of it? It was in the show, wasn't it? It was in the line. He's become more aware of the fact that his family is no longer around. It's as though they're going to explain that. It's called Doctor Who for a reason. We don't know who he is.
Yeah.
The problem being is saying to us here, they'd only put her into it to validate their rubbish. Unless they make Susan the timeless child, it will only be used to force more of it. John Steed says, I can see Susan turning up, then bi-generating into some bloke, probably, yeah. And Dave Harding pointing out what you pointed out, technically, the Doctor and Susan were reunited for the 5 Doctors. Yeah, and it was a big thing then as well. We were all excited about it. But there were other characters, and there's not much you could do with that. But at least she was there. RTD will bring her back to upset the diehard fans. Wouldn't put that past him. And RTD would probably bring her back with a same-sex partner. Wouldn't put that past him either.
Well, David will have transitioned, wouldn't he? He'd now be Davina.
Poor old David. She had a child with her husband David from Dalek Invasion of Earth. Did she? I don't remember that. Ooh. That's a bit dodgy as well. That's going into a whole sort of half-human element that they always forget about from 1996, isn't it? Because he would be half Gallifreyan or half Time Lord.
That must be from the book. I can't remember that in the book. I mean, there's 2.
That's not in the Target book. That's no way in the Target book.
Legacy of the Daleks, one of the
fan fiction or something. Nibbles.
Legacy of the Daleks, BBC book.
No, it's not in that. Not in that.
I can't remember. I know that's where David got topped. Because that had the Master in it as well, and Susan did for the Master with his tissue compression eliminator jobber, and that sent him to Tercerus, which led into Deadly Assassin. And she cleared off in his TARDIS.
You see, this is what happens when you allow fans to write stuff. It gets so convoluted, and they want to tie everything in. Why bother? Let other fans actually decide what they want to. And you get that little cheap thrill, don't you, about things tying in? That little, you think, oh, that's nice. But at the big end of the day, don't bother. Legion of James is saying to us, is she disregarding her returns in the Big Finish stories with McGANN? Well, obviously, yes. But Big Finish is like the books. It's just a franchise. You can write it off anytime you want. It's not canon. I'm going to say it. It's not canon. If you include the Bog Fanish stuff, you have to also then include the Doctor Who magazine strips through its various incarnations. You have to include the BBC books, the Virgin books, the BBV stuff. You have to talk about the Target spin-offs. Everything has to be then canon, because you can't just select and choose. Do you know what I mean? So just look at it as a franchise. And unfortunately, everything that's on television is, in a sense. And I don't include the McGANN thing either, where he regenerates into John Hurt. I don't include that because it was on iPlayer. It's up to you, of course. This is what I keep saying to people. It's down to the individual to say what is canon. But when it comes to something like that, not to me, because I won't buy Bog Fanish's stuff because there's millions of the things. It's too Fanish and it's expensive. Not interested. So I have no idea. I like this one, though, from Paul Richards. Susan would have been better coming back with Capaldi's Doctor. That would have been good because he would have known how to play it.
Yes,
similar way to what Tennant did with Sarah Jane and Liz. Capaldi would have known how to play with Susan and Carole Ann, because he would have understood, I have to play it this way because there's a layer here. I've never played as the Doctor, and nobody has played as the Doctor since William Hartnell. Even Peter didn't get that particular chance to bring the element of the grandfather out with Susan, because he only got one scene with her, didn't he?
Now that would have been really good. And you're right, Capaldi would have known what to do. He'd have got the gravity of it, and he would have respected Hartnell.
Yeah, I think also to an extent, maybe the production team around him might have done. I don't know. It's hard to say. Marjorie's saying to us, if she returned with the current crew, including RTD, it would destroy her legacy on the show. She was in the 5 Doctors, and that was good enough. And Blue Worm saying to us, hey, remember when Doctor Who was an innovative show with new ideas and new characters? Oh, I do. I really do. Happy, happy days. A lot of you saying you're not in with this idea with Carole Ann. Yeah.
It'd be a bad idea. It really would.
And of course, the great British public, I'm sorry to say, somebody was saying there how he would do it just to get the viewership up. Wouldn't work. It wouldn't work because the British public, it's over 60 years ago, 61 years ago. They don't know. They've messed Doctor Who up so much now. Nobody watched the last series, so they don't know the references. And people just in the UK, they're not interested. They wouldn't be interested. Sorry.
Mean nothing. Absolutely nothing to them. And unfortunately, the TQIA nut jobs that they're aiming it at, it won't mean anything to them either.
No, and they won't care.
No.
They won't care. So I don't think there's many fans actually calling Carole Ann, no disrespect, for the return of your character. And in the state of the show as it is today, I think your time has been and gone. I think if they were going to do it, they would have done it years ago.
Yeah.
But no, I think the time's gone. Sorry, I just do. And I don't even think a regenerated Susan would work because, of course, we wouldn't like that because Susan is Carole Ann.
Absolutely.
You know. Legion James getting back to me saying, I agree, JT. I only see TV as canon. Some fanfic is good, but a lot of it is guff. It totally is, especially when they try to tie everything up. I mean, they must give themselves headaches.
Or take characters off into different areas that they were. I mean, in the New Adventures, which broadly I liked, they gave the Brigadier an illegitimate child, didn't they?
They did.
Kadiatu, Lethbridge Stewart, if I remember rightly.
I didn't like that either. I just thought, why is that?
Neither.
What's that about? I mean, that was totally out of character for the Brigadier. He would never have had an affair.
Yeah, completely.
You know, and he certainly wouldn't have had an illegitimate. It was too much of the Englishman. If he'd had his wicked way with any female, and that would have happened, he would have married her immediately. The Brigadier.
Yeah, completely. He very much one for the right way of doing things.
Oh well, he was proper British. He would have done that. Yeah. You know. I even have problems these days thinking that the Brigadier may have had a little bit of the old tomfoolery out of wedlock because he wasn't that sort of man. But obviously he did because he met Doris and stuff like that. And it was an in-joke. Anyway, we're getting off the point there. So there you go. That was Carole Ann Ford. Thank you for joining us here on Headlines, everybody. We are. I told you it was a big show. Thank you for staying with us. A lot of you have been mentioning Paul McGANN meeting. Paul McGann's doctor been meeting Susan there in the CD audios, of which I'm not aware, but good for her for getting that done then. If you enjoyed them, good for you. However, we also talked about Paul McGann before, didn't we? And some of you were cruel. Some of you were cruel saying he's aged. Has he really? Let's have a look. Of course he has, because it's now so far apart from 1996 to where we are today. Of course he's aged there, but I still think he's rocking. I still think he pulls off that particular outfit, which he must be able to keep. He must. Okay. Has he got it in the wardrobe? Because he seems to. He seems to turn up to get his milk bottles in this outfit these days. For a man that sort of divorced himself for Doctor Who for a little while, and then was brought into the conventions. I was there at that particular convention, Panopticon again, for, I think it was the 40th anniversary, I think. Well, yeah, it would have been the 40th, wouldn't it? Where India Fisher made him go, basically, and he turned up on stage, huge standing ovation for what seemed like a week, because we couldn't believe it. It was a big secret, everybody. And they brought him on, they brought India Fisher on, and then they brought him on, and we all went, what? His first ever convention appearance, and he was just like, oh my goodness. And you could actually hear us say over the mic, I told you. We were all like, oh my god, it's Paul McGann, it's the Doctor. It was fabulous, and getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Well, Paul McGann has hit the Doctor Who headlines again this week, and on this one I'm going to say good for Mr. McGann. Now this Mr. McGann, not Mr. Magoo, Mr. McGann, because this ties in. This ties in with that picture there on the right, of course. You may remember this has been taken from the aforementioned Bog Vanish, because apparently they did something recently which was recorded live in front of an audience. They recorded an episode or something like that. Okay. Yes, so that was it. So this, and doesn't he suit that TARDIS set, by the way?
He does. He does.
Doesn't he just?
Fits right into it.
Yeah, you've seen the pictures. Actually, the cover of Doctor Who magazine, the one that we've just been talking about there, also had it on the cover there. Look, another version of it. Very reminiscent of the Doctor Who magazine cover from when he was announced as the Doctor in Longleat, I thought. You know,
Yeah, holding that big crystal.
holding the segment of the key to time. But he has made some of the news with Doctor Who with this story. And again, it was in Doctor Who magazine here. There it is there. And this was reported by Radio Times again. Doctor Who's Paul McGann blames David Tennant for all the snogging and says the Doctor cannot be a love interest. The Doctor cannot be a love interest. It's impossible, says Mr. McGann. Could this be an actor that actually understands the Doctor?
God forbid.
Ironic, as you will see, considering that he was the first one to be forced to do it. But anyway, let's get into the story. Former Doctor Paul McGann has spoken out about the essence of romance that can sometimes be woven through Doctor Who. Sometimes, did you see the last series, Radio Times, citing David Tennant as the reason why? Speaking in an interview in the most recent issue of Doctor Who magazine, McGann was promoting the live audio event of the Stuff of Legend at Cadogan Hall with co-star India Fisher, who voices Charlie Ballard. Oh, she liked me. Fisher said, well, everyone always mentions this, but I never took it that way. People got upset during Scherzo 2003. We were meant to kiss in that one, but actually we melded into one and everyone got upset. But now, of course, the Doctor is snogging all over the shop. McGann added, that's because of David Tennant, the David Cassidy of the Doctors. Do you know, I can see him saying that. I can actually see him that. That's really funny, I think, Mr. McGann. Well done. The story continues. Fisher continued, but for me, Charlie's love of the Doctor is complicated. He is her everything. She was 18 when she stowed away, so the Doctor is her family and her love interest. Yeah, it's a complicated feeling that she has for the Doctor. With Charlie, it's got to be platonic, McGann said, insisting the Doctor cannot be a love interest. It's impossible. Here, Mr. McGann. What do you think of that, Third Doctor, Ian?
That's absolutely on the money. Completely, 100% endorse that message. Yeah. He's got it.
I mean, considering it is ironic, considering that his Doctor was the first to actually be forced to do it by the production team.
That was very emblematic of the time, though, wasn't it? And how American influenced sci-fi was, in the same way that you had to have if you're an alien, you have to have a parent that's human, so you're part human. You know, they did it with Spock and everything else. It's almost like they don't have the balls to do an all-out alien. It has to be half human, some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So they slotted that in, and they've just got to do a little bit of tonsil tennis as well. Yeah. And it was a shame, because it became the talking point of the TV movie when it could have been about so many other things instead. It became the enduring news story about it, when really it shouldn't have happened at all.
Stephen Braddock is saying to us, it wasn't a romantic kiss, it was just sheer exuberance. But what was that last one? What was that last one in that last scene where he says goodbye to Grace? The thing about this as well is, again, it's down to these people. It's down to these people who are producing the shows. And it's as though they're looking down at the American audience in particular by saying, the Americans won't buy this being an all right alien. We have to make him a little bit human. Look what RTD has done with the Doctor in 2024. He's practically stripped away everything about him and made him a blubbering, emotional, homosexual, human male. You know, that's not the Doctor either. But what Paul McGann seems to be doing here is understanding the Doctor is an alien, and he's been respectful to those 26 years that preceded him, where the Doctor never showed any romantic interest in anybody at all. You know, it's just nonsense to think, you know, where he could be. That's why Doctor Who was so successful, because it wasn't a show about, you know, the old in out at all. Yeah, ridiculous. Stephen is also saying to us, well spoken, Paul, you know the Doctor. There's a lot of this coming through. Nibbles is saying, all right, I like him even more now. And John Steed saying to us, it's been a missed opportunity with Paul McGann playing the Doctor. I think we're all going to agree as that, as Doctor Who fans, aren't we? You know, he's even said this week as well that when it was announced in 2003 that the show was coming back, he has actually said he did wait for the phone call, because he thought there might even just be a regeneration scene, which he was up to do, because that is what happened with him and Sylve. And he said in the interview, he was aware that the tradition was there should be a regeneration, and he was ready, and he was waiting for the phone call, and it never came. And I actually felt a little bit sorry for him, you know, for when it came back all those years ago. I don't know, but I think it has been a missed opportunity. I understand why they wanted to start afresh with a new Doctor back in 2004. But I think it would have been a surefire hit with McGANN as well, quite possibly. I do believe that. I think he would have been very successful as a Doctor. Chris Carlin, McGANN does understand the Doctor, says Chris. It looks like he does, doesn't he? Julianne is saying to us, Paul McGANN is the way to go with Doctor Who. He gets it. There's an awful lot of people wanting a Doctor Who spin-off with Paul McGANN. It's not going to happen. I've said it over and over and over again, because the Paul McGANN series would be more popular than the Gatwa Doctor. And that can't be allowed, because it would just wipe him away. Even if it was written by RTD, we'd all watch the Paul McGANN one to see how he was doing it. The public would watch the Paul McGANN one because Paul McGANN is still highly regarded with the British public. They would. So it's not going to happen. Problem being is well said. And Dalek Eye is saying, now that is the Doctor Who with class and gravitas. Shame we don't have him instead of Gatwa. Oh. And well put, says Matthew Pounder, he's an alien. And McGann seems to grasp that, whereas the others don't.
We understand, though, don't we, that, you know, I don't doubt for a second, for example, that Jo Grant loved her Doctor. I think she loved her Doctor.
She was allowed.
Yeah, but I mean, and just while we're on Jo Grant, happy birthday tomorrow for Katie Manning.
Yeah, but, happy birthday, Katie. All the best, love.
Yeah, bless her heart.
Yeah.
It was never a sexual or a lustful love. She just loved her life with that Time Lord.
Yes.
And that was it. And that was it. And it was never ever exploited in any way, shape, or form. And now we have this, what we have today, which is just awful. It's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, it is. I do think. I think the time for McGann being in the TV show has come and gone. Stuart Kerrigan is saying, "Oh God, yes, shame he never got a few episodes." It really is. It really, really is. Domgo is going so far to say McGann would have been better, even better than Eccleston, but yet they're two very on par actors as well. You know, they approach things differently, but they were at the time they were on that level with the British public. They both knew Paul McGann and they both knew Christopher Eccleston, and they both had success in Doctor Who as well. Because don't forget that one-off with Paul McGann got 9 million viewers here in the UK, which was amazing for a Monday night on a bank holiday. And then Eccleston Doctor, under a similar rating system, got the same, or the equivalent, over 14 weeks in those days, everybody. 14 weeks of 45-minute episodes.
Although Eccleston did the snogging before Tennant, to be fair, right at the very end with Rose.
Yeah, you see, I still, as the fanboy I am, don't think that was a snog. I think that was
there was a reason behind it, but whether it needed to be by kissing
that way, I don't know. But anyway, thank you everybody for that. There, yes. So that was Paul McGann showing, arguably, that he knows the Doctor better than anybody in the 2024 version of Doctor Who. I really, really do. Stuart Kerrigan saying to us here, I think it was RTD's ego. He wanted his own Doctor. Well, listen, we're coming up to our final story now. Thank you for staying with us, everybody here. But I'm finally tonight here on Who's Views. Yes, I'm sure you were all thrilled over the last week. And so I'm not going to get through this. I'm sure you were all thrilled this week and reached for your wallets and your purses, boys and girls, as you dived in onto the Character Options website for their latest action figure models. Yes, you can get the online exclusives right now for the Vortex editions of the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday, as pictured here on the show. Yes, I'm sure you've all gone out and bought loads. Why are they Vortex editions? Great question, everybody. No idea. Maybe it's because the boxes are stylized. But have you placed your order, Third Doctor Ian?
I absolutely have not. And what on earth has happened to Ruby's legs? I hope that's a pair of tights. Otherwise, they've probably put GATWA'S legs on.
I don't think they could have bare coloured legs on these things now for somebody to complain. Oh, you got a women's pair, but they are terrible colour. Those tight things there, aren't they? I mean, they are
Really are. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, that was, I mean, this was quite disappointing when that all came out, wasn't it? Really? I mean, goodness knows. I mean, we knew they were going to happen. That and the new alleged sonic screwdriver. P.S. It's not a sonic screwdriver. I mean, come on. Dalek I say now, don't be silly, JT. Julian agreeing with you, Third Doctor Ian. What the hell is going on with Ruby's legs?
Those are the kind of models where Daypole would have been a step up, aren't they? Really?
John Steed saying to us the figures can probably act better. Ooh.
Give it that. Yeah.
David Harding, shouldn't that action figure be crying? And Pete is saying to us, I bought 20 for bonfire nights. Okay. Ooh, stony ground. TARDIS Travels is saying to us, I've bought them, hands up, I'm guilty, stands in that corner. TARDIS Travels. Well, let us know what they're like.
Live that one down.
Oh, no. Yeah, Paul Richards, does the landmine actually explode? GATWA'S standing on the landmine, says Mike Disney. Absolutely. What else have we got here? Matthew's saying, I'll buy it if it goes off. It is, David. Yes, it is. It's the mine from what was it called? Boom. Yeah. Paul Rose is saying it's an online exclusive made to order when the quantity known. Oh, we are cynics. Millie faces uncanny, says Garbage. Does the Gatwa figure come with a piece of turf? Well, it should, shouldn't it? It should. Online exclusives, simply because they know they won't sell in quantity to justify mass production and store sales. Now, apparently, there are some figures coming into the shops here in the UK. I was told that there was more than one variant of the Ncuti Gatwa action figure because he wears more than one outfit through the series. Let's see if that's the case. We're also going to see who's going to be stocking them because, unfortunately, here in the UK now, the retail high street is gone, and all those outlets that they had the figures in last time, especially with places like Woolworths and Toys R Us, they've gone.
Mm. Do you think they'll do a Gatwa one in the kilt?
Yes, I do actually. I do. Already said I'll wait till they hit a tenner for the pair, says Bill Lowry. And Domko is saying £40, piss off. It was £40.
They'd just have to swap Ruby's lower half, wouldn't they, really, for Gatwa's upper half, and he's got the kilt.
Yeah, exactly.
With the right colour legs.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? But that, I know you were all so excited about those things. Vortex figure says TARDIS Travels. It's just a gimmick, and you bought them. Do you squeeze Gatwa's legs together to make him cry? Says Legion of James. We're all cynics here, aren't we? But no, it doesn't look like never. A lot of you did buy them and place your order in. Oh, I'm not surprised at all, really, in any of that. But thank you for that, everybody. Yes, that was the merchandising news, wasn't it? And my goodness. Didn't it shake?
We knew they were coming, didn't we? At some point, we knew they were coming.
They're very late in the day, though, aren't they? And they're online exclusives. So when are they going to announce that? I mean, the stores, the shops here, or what's left of them here in the United Kingdom, have started putting out the Christmas toys already. The tinsel is out there, the baubles are out there, the Christmas trees are out there, the lights are out there. It's all there, and Doctor Who is yet again conspicuous by its absence. Even the annual, I've seen 4 on a shelf in one shop. And it was spine out, not face out, spine out. It's as though somebody's gone, that's not important, we'll just put it there. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's the state of Doctor Who today, everybody. Isn't it embarrassing? Listen, we have gone well over time talking about merchandise. Stay tuned to the end of the credits. Third Doctor Ian, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this show. It's a big show. I warned it would be a big show.
Thank you, sir. I have had a blast. It's been great. And it was definitely a big one.
That's good to know, isn't it, everybody? Thank you to everybody that's joined us tonight through the show and staying with us as well. Thank you so much. It's great to get all your feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have subscribed to the channel, please keep checking to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. Don't forget, you can get in touch with me at whosviews1@gmail.com. Thank you very much for everybody there for sending in emails and stuff. I didn't say at the beginning of the show, but thank you this week to Mark Milford, to Suzanne, to Simon L, to Problem Being, to Steve Hinley, to Julianne, to James Firth, and to Jonathan K. Thank you for your emails this week. Great to hear from you all.
Sorry, JT. We have, according to my screen, we have 98 likes. Can we do the 100? Can we do the 100? Or a couple more. Hitting the likes. Go on, you know you want to. You know you do. It'll make you feel good.
And don't forget, we will be back on Wednesday here on Who's Views with the Brain of Morbius on our reviews as part of Halloween. So you've got a couple of days there to get watching it. And remember, and yes, we are going to be talking about that sequence. And we're going to be putting that to bed once and for all on this channel, because we are not standing any of the nonsense. No. None at all. Oh, look, you're still chatting to us as well. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. It's lovely to see you all. Do you know, I absolutely love Sunday nights, and it's because of this show and getting to talk to you lot and hearing about what you lot are thinking, and knowing I'm not the only one going mad. I have to say, I'm not going mad at all, apart from all the nonsense that's going on with it. It's our love for the show that keeps us going, isn't it? So listen, yes, thank you very much. Thank you to Third Doctor Ian. We will be back very, very soon. And don't forget, whenever they drop a headline, we're going to be here to talk about it. Until we're back here on the channel, from Third Doctor and myself, take care. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Oh, you'll be delighted and somewhat surprised to know that you can now own Who's Views merchandise. Yes, a range of mugs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, cuddly toys, a cheer please, and other goodies, all putting official Doctor Who merchandise to shame. It's now available from the Who's Views shop. You can find it on the store tab on the channel or by scanning that squiggly thing there. Yes, that box thing. Scan that. Not sure how. This doesn't actually tell me how you do it. But no doubt you Who's viewers will know. You're clever. Anyway, there it is. Who's Views merchandise. Good grief.